Order. I need a motion to come out of exec session. All right, Alex Pagurello, second. Matthew Bauman. Questions or discussion? All in favor? Welcome to the Wednesday, May 29th meeting, special meeting of the Board of Education. Everybody, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silent meditation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri to present to us the We Are Sachem Superintendent's Report, which is pretty much going to be the budget update.
Mr. Scavo, thank you very much. I'm going to take us back, give a little summary about how we arrived here today at a special meeting on May 29. Budget process begins pretty much as soon as the last year's budget process is put to bed, but we really start to hit it in early in the fall, October. Michelle starts to have meetings each year with her staff and with budget, with directors and heads of departments to come up, formulate the new budget. So that work starts very early in the year. And this year we knew we would struggle insofar as recognizing the first time we presented to the board, we were looking at a $20 million deficit. A great majority of that was made up from things that were beyond Sachem's control, and we've gone through a lot of those things, ERS contributions, health contributions, and the like. And those things that we can control, I think we've done a good job of being able to control them and working with our units, our organizations, through negotiation, through preservation of what it is that we hold dear here in the district, and trying to keep as much staff as we can and provide as much as we can to our students. So we were able to cut that gap down to about $6 million and expected that we would get hold harmless and use $3 million from hold harmless and $3 million from our reserves, additional reserves, to bring that number down to be whole and be at a tax cap compliant number for our community to vote on. But when the hold harmless did come through finally from the governor and from our legislators, it was not what we had expected. It was not the minimum due increase that we expected that we had gotten each year. And therefore, we were now facing some severe cuts. And as a community, we came together, certainly the board, and decided that before we made those severe cuts, we would go out to our community and ask them, what is it that we want to hold on to? Do we want to go out and try and pierce the cap and try to preserve a great many of those things that make Sachem special? And we had that vote last week, May 21, and while the community supported it at the typical majority, it needed to be at a super majority, it needed to be at 60%, and it was certainly not. And therefore, we are back here today. The board has to decide what they're going to do going forward. They could put out a cap that pierces, a tax levy that pierces the cap once again, or we could go out with something that is tax cap compliant. And I know this is not going to be a shock to anyone that the board has decided that we would come out with a tax cap compliant request to our community. So we will be at 1.92, and we did put up a series of things that we may have to cut as a result to get down to that number. And so if we could, I don't know who has that. Michelle, do you have that? Or Jack, can we put that up on the two walls, please? And we're going to start working through some of those things that we will now need to go through in terms of cuts. The board will decide how to get down to a tax cap compliant number. So you'll see on that list all the things that we have spoken about before in a little bit more detail. There are a few items in red as well that we recognize. Well, if you're going to cut cut sports or cut clubs, you may have to cut or should cut buses. And so those are some of the things you'll see in red, some of those things that were added of late. But I would suggest to the board that we start to do this work as a work session and start to go through these. Mr. Scavo, I don't know if there's anything you want to add insofar as the summary or how we got here, or our work is, our charge here is tonight.
Yeah, so unfortunately, when a budget fails, any budget, we have to go back to looking at our proposed budget, and we have to reduce it. We were talking about a $377 million budget for next year. It required that 60% majority. We didn't get the 60% majority, so now we have to look at reducing that budget line by anywhere from $3.6 million to $6.2 million is what we're charged with. And tonight, by the end of tonight, we have to at least be able to make the decisions tonight as to what we're going to propose next week. Because next Tuesday night, the budget has to be adopted. We are required to that. You want to give the
Mr.
date?
Scavo, yes, on June 4, we will be adopting the budget, so we have to make final decisions tonight. So that's June 4, budget adoption. We may be back over in our usual place or here again. We'll have to make that decision. June 11th will be the hearing, the budget hearing, and we'll have a regular meeting that night as well. We originally had a meeting on the 12th. We'll just move it to the 11th. So we have the hearing and the meeting on the 11th. And we will have the revote on June 18th. All those are Tuesdays. Typically, we do a lot of our work on Wednesdays, but all those are Tuesdays. June 4, adoption. June 11, hearing. June 18th, the revote. That revote will have to be here at district office, and it will be paper because the county will not give us machines. Is that right, Ms. Florio? There's a...
Yes, correct, because the primary is the following week, so we are not permitted to have the voting machines or the ballots as usual. So we unfortunately need to go to paper ballots. So we will be at one location here in the Board of Ed room, and we will have our staff there with tables. So you're still going to look for your table for your typical polling location of what elementary school you would typically vote for. So we will have the signage up for Linwood, Merrimack, Waverly, and the such. So, but the hours are still the same from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., and it will be in the boardroom here.
And we'll need 50% plus one. Right, Michelle? Yes.
Okay. So I think the easiest thing would be is to start at the top of the list and work our way down, see where the board majority is. Tonight, we are missing 2 board members. I know Mr. Cerny is planning on coming late. He had something until about 7 o'clock or 7:15. And I don't think Ms. Slattery will be with us tonight. She's a little under the weather. But I guess what we do is go down and see where the majority of the board is with regards to these particular cuts. So, Dr. Peltier, maybe you could take us to the first one, introduction, increase elementary class sizes, reduce 16 sections.
So if we increase elementary class size by 2, in other words, kindergarten instead of 23 is our target now, we'd make it 25, and so on up through grade 5, we could reduce up to 16 sections or 16 sections, which would be 16 additional staff members at the elementary level.
Okay, so just for purposes of clarity, increasing the target number by 2, right, when we got a report in our packet this week, in certain schools, it raised the class sizes anywhere from 5 to 8 kids per class. There were certain sections that were impacted by that. So if we have 4 sections and we reduce it down to 3, okay, that means that there's remaining 3 sections are impacted. All right, and it's once again by a divisor. All right, so it's not, 16 sections actually does impact anywhere from 30 to 40 sections district wide. Input from the board on that? No input? I'll start it. You want to go, Sabrina?
What about if we only increased it by 1, the target?
By increasing by 1 in the target numbers, we'd be able to reduce to 5 with 5 sections, from 16 to 5.
Okay. Any other comments on the board?
Patty, I think we talked about AIS at the elementary level as well.
Yes, our AIS math teachers, we've talked about sharing them in the past and going from 10 AIS math teachers to 5, and they'd be split between 2 buildings. So that would be an additional 5 elementary teachers, if that's what the board would like.
You'd be looking at 10 staff members at the elementary level.
Total for elementary.
Okay, any other comments?
Hey, Rob, just a question. So we can go down the list, or it's a pretty big list. Are there things on there that we all agree to that shouldn't be on that list? Could we maybe start eliminating some of those so we see what we're dealing with?
Well,
Or do you want to go down
Yeah,
one
no,
at a
that's,
time?
that's fine. I don't think we have to make the decision right at this second. I
Right.
think we do is, we can go down the list and then say, look, I'm comfortable with this, this and this, but I'm not comfortable with this.
Yeah.
You know, can we tweak this a little bit? Certainly, the only thing is, we would need Michelle to calculate the numbers, sort of like on the fly, so we could get to the whatever number we're looking to
Yep.
reduce it down to.
So we can go through one time, kind of ask for questions, and then come back for each one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Any other questions on elementary class size?
All right?
Okay. Reduction of 5 social workers. Unfortunately, we've been talking about this one for a while. I don't know if there's any additional questions on that. We did hire 5 additional social workers at the secondary level with using COVID dollars, and this would be the reduction of those 5.
So question, so so those are the 5 we brought in with relief funds. We're taking those out. Where does that leave us on social workers as a district?
We still would have 1 at each
each.
building.
And is there an opportunity to share those across buildings, or is the workload sort of at their max?
I think we'd have to take a close look at that, Vincent. I think each building, I mean, if you're talking about maybe the smallest building in the district could give up a piece of someone possibly.
Okay.
Just the reduction of 5 social workers, that means that we would have, how many social workers left? You said, what was that number? on that?
Michelle, do you have that or?
17?
Yeah. So there's 1 in each building, and then I think there's,
2 additional. But
2
this year we
additional.
had 22 social workers because we had 1 additional each secondary. So we would go down to 17. But we also do have a retirement, and we are looking to have 1 in our alternate high school as well.
So we would
even
have
though,
18?
so that would go back up to 19. Well, it would be 17. We would be placing 1 as a retirement, and then 1 as an additional spot, so 18.
18. So 18 would be remaining.
And Chris, these are mandated positions?
you say mandated, they, I don't know how to answer that
I stumped you?
necessarily.
Did I
Yeah,
stump you?
Yeah, it's not, for example, a service that is mandated on an IEP. It's, I don't know schools that don't have them. I don't know districts that don't have them.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Reduction of librarians.
Yes, we have in the past reduced librarians at the elementary level. We would share them across the buildings. We also have 2 librarians at our 2 high schools. You could reduce potentially and have 1 librarian at at each high school.
Any comments, questions?
So then 5 elementary is not.
That would be for the board.
Sorry, I just said that I had my mic on. 5 elementary, you're not recommending, or are you leaving that?
Right now, we're just going through
Through
and
it.
saying what these are and answering any questions. So you could do 7, you could do 5, you could do 2. 2 roving security guards we added last year. We will still have roving security guards. We will have fewer. They will be stretched further than they were this year. We did add them last year, additional supports, particularly at the elementary level.
Chris, just go back to librarians real quick. How many do we have at each high school right now?
2,
We have 2. Okay. Middle school? How many?
1.
Okay. Questions about roving guards? Eliminating 2 would leave us with 2 roving guards.
I believe that there's a total of 4 roving guards. Do you have that, Michelle?
They're not coded that way in our
That's-
system, so
okay.
they all. say
It's more hours than we would have to go in and say, okay, these guards that have this post, we're going to reduce those posts. That's
Chris, when they're roving, are they doing after hours, during school hours, or are they
They-
24/7?
Yeah, we are a 24/7 shop, without a doubt, so yes.
So reducing 2 is going to leave a gap in security.
Well, no. We would be stretched thinner. I'm not going to say from midnight till 4, we're
Yeah,
not
I'm
going
not
to have
asking
our
you about-
guards.
yeah.
We're not doing
I'm
that.
not
Yeah,
disclosing
We
any of
just
that.
would
I'm just
be-
saying so we'd be
we would be
stretched.
stretched. Vin, we didn't have, Vincent, we didn't have those 2 guards 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Next one is reduction of secondary staff, reduction of 8 FTEs.
Yeah, so we feel that through course offerings and class sizes, we would be able to do this without a major impact at the secondary level.
Okay, and there's already 8 secondary positions built into the current
That's
budget?
correct.
So you're looking at 16?
It would be
FTEs
total of 16.
at the secondary level.
8 are already baked in,
So it's 8 additional.
yes, to get us down to the 192.
And that would be in all
Across the board,
English,
secondary.
math, science. Okay. Eliminate half elementary music, 10 positions.
Yeah, it's not mandated, all of that, so you could go in and eliminate half of the elementary music positions, which would be 10 positions.
Okay, and then the impact that would have on our programs,
You'd be offering half of what we offer now, 50%.
that's district-wide.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions regarding it? Music ensembles,
Those at the secondary at the 2 high schools.
Chris, maybe you can give us background, what do we have now?
Sure. Patty, can I ask you to speak to that, please?
Sure. At the at the 2 high schools, we offer a variety of advanced classes for the music students that are majoring in that. So this would be taking some of those advanced classes that they take away. There'd be more of the basic band, orchestra, and chorus, not the advanced ones. So it'd be reducing the staff by class offerings.
So that would look like 1 band, 1 orchestra, 1 choir for both high schools. So no more wind
Correct.
per high school, sorry.
Per high
It's
school.
Per high school.
And again, these are really targeted at the elite musicians, right?
It is on that higher end.
Right, and some of these kids need these for their Tri-M Honor Society, things like that, or majors, so just.
Okay. Eliminate 6th grade foreign language, 3 teachers.
Yes, we introduced foreign language in 6th grade very successfully 2 years ago when we expanded to 9-period day. And kids are exposed to French, Italian, Spanish in 6th grade. And we didn't have it before. It's something I think is, well, everything on here is pretty neat, but certainly it is something that we could decide to do. It's not mandated.
Okay. Sabrina?
If that was eliminated, what would replace it?
You'd start looking at study halls or putting them into other electives.
Okay.
But the students are still going to take a language when it's either, 8th grade or,
Yeah,
right?
7th grade.
7th grade, so.
Yes.
So it's just not the choice of testing out French, Spanish, right, or Italian. They're just going to go into 1 in
Yes.
7th grade.
It would not have that
Which is what we've always
cultural
done.
exposure. It's what we used to do.
Right. Okay.
The questions from the board? All right. Elimination of Northwell Health partnerships.
We helped found that partnership and brought it to help bring it to Suffolk County. It is a partnership for mental health supports for students and families. And again, it's not something that is mandated. If you're looking to keep staff, for example, you would choose to keep staff over a partnership with Northwell potentially.
But Chris, can you talk about some of the metrics in general? Because it sounds like a lot of the community may not know about this program, but the ones who do, there's been hundreds of
Kids.
assisted, gotten medications they needed, gotten triaged, gotten into therapy on the outside, right? So
Yeah, it's very
that
difficult.
they would not get it, because the reason we brought it in was the fact that people were having a hard time getting an appointment for a therapist for 6, 8, 9 months out, right? So this expedites that process, allows you to triage the kids if there's medications needed, right?
100% correct. Yes.
Okay.
It brings down that wait
Right.
from months,
Which a lot can happen
potentially
in that wait
weeks,
period of time,
to
which could be
days.
devastating for families, right?
Okay, Meredith?
What Northwell does for us is wonderful, but there's also free programs out there that do very similar things. So what would it look like if maybe we kept one of the social workers and their primary position would be to put out those free programs, make those free programs more noticeable? I know that some of those free programs are actually even more beneficial than Northwell has been. So is that an option?
We can
You're
come back.
saving one of our own staff members over an outside company.
Is that something that we'd be able to match the services that?
Yeah, we
Northwell?
would not be able to match Northwell's wide range of resources in terms of referrals and their arm stretches across the island, obviously, in terms of referrals. And they provide us with professional development as well. There's a great many things that they do in there. We have weekly Zoom meetings, monthly Zoom meetings, monthly professional development that we have access to. Could you potentially take someone to try and put that together from different free resources? But yes, you could attempt to do that. I don't know that we'd have the wherewithal or the contacts to be able to get to all those resources and referrals.
Chris,
with
could you-
staff.
Could you just spend a minute, just talk about the benefits of it? I mean, I know that a child that needs immediate attention, we refer them to Northwell. Northwell makes a referral and
Yeah.
gets them in that services much faster, opposed to not having it. Is that?
They can actually see the child themselves. They built a clinic. It's in Comac, and our families go there, as do districts. There's 5 to 7 other districts that are part of this partnership. They've been trying to grow it and it has grown successfully. And yes, they would get access to that clinic during certain hours of the day, weekends. And if not that immediate clinic, then referral outside of that. Sometimes our kids go to that clinic, they get immediate referral, then outside either with Northwell or through other agencies, other local agencies I know are utilized by them.
And that shortens the wait time for
Yes,
a
sir.
child.
Mhm.
So right now, to receive services, you could wait several months.
I'm sure there's people in the community who know that, or Mrs. Volpe, I know, has some extensive knowledge in this area, and it could take months. And I know the people that have had experience with this, Mrs. Volpe, you want to speak to it for a minute? It's shortened it for them.
Yeah, Northwell is a fast track for kids who are struggling in crisis. It could be anything from school avoidance to severe mental health issues, where if you need to connect with a therapist, a doctor, and get psychiatric help in any level, you could call a doctor yourself privately. You could try to use one of the free services. You're getting a year out. So your kid is in crisis for over a year before you can even ask someone to help them. Northwell, from the experience and the feedback I've gotten from the community, it's lessened down to a week, 2-3 weeks. And your kid's immediately in the system, getting referred to specialists that can work in that exact modality. So if your kid is avoiding school, you'll go into the school avoidance program with Northwell. That is then picked up by your private health insurance. The school district's out of it at that point. I mean, hundreds of kids have utilized this successfully. I'm sure there's ones that might not be a fan. I've only heard positive. I haven't gotten any negatives on it. But the value of it, especially if we have to get rid of COVID positions, to me, in a $300 million budget, $180,000 that's helping our most at-risk kids, it's a no-brainer for me that we keep that.
Just
So-
one other question. Right now, there's, the program's only so big, it could only handle a certain number of schools. So right now, there's a considerable waiting list to get in.
There is.
So if we were to back out of it, okay, obviously, and we want to go back into it a year or two, it's not, may not be a possibility.
It would not be a guarantee.
Okay. Any other questions about Northwell Health? All right. Next one is elimination of elementary clubs, excluding treasurers.
Yes, we have to continue to utilize treasurers, but we would eliminate all elementary clubs.
We have a dollar amount associated with that, Chris?
Michelle, you have a dollar amount with that?
The savings would be $83,620.
Okay.
Do we know how many kids participate with these clubs?
I don't have those rosters. I'm sorry. I could get that.
All right, Chris, next one is reduction, secondary clubs at 50%. What would that look like?
We would have the potential clubs that the kids could join offerings. Actually, it's kind of worse than that because the clubs are really made up of the majority of the clubs are honor societies and such. So majority of the money ends up going there. So you'd end up reducing, when you say reduce by secondary clubs by 50% the budget, you're actually reducing the budget by 50%, but you're reducing the club opportunities by about 75%.
Questions from the board? All right, reduction marching band.
Marching band and robotics are both exceptional clubs. They have their own budgets, and one of the proposals would be to cut both of those clubs' budgets by 50%.
In order to make that up, how would they make that money up? Fundraising?
We would ask that they fundraise already. They'd be asked to fundraise more.
Questions, comments, from the board? No. I'll get it, Meredith.
Meredith?
So what would that 50% reduction save us?
For the marching band, it would be $20,000. For robotics, it would be $12,500. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 10,000 for marching bands. Is that what I said?
So 50% is 10,000.
Sorry.
Okay. On to the side, a reduction of high school drama.
We
production.
skipped
Oh, we skipped
eliminate
some.
club buses, that's all. I just wanted to, so again, if we're going to eliminate clubs, you'd eliminate club buses, but we have to be careful of that because potentially some other kids are jumping on those buses in the afternoon, BOCES kids and the like. So we just have to be cognizant of that and take a close look in terms of manipulating those buses through times, days. Perhaps we have clubs on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so we know that we're running only Tuesday and Wednesday buses, things like that. That's something that can be done, can be clarified.
Chris, are we required by law to provide transportation for our kids? Academic, regular academic setting,
Sure.
transportation home? So the concern that I would have with complete elimination is that our career and technical education students from BOCES do not get back in time, okay, for the regular buses that leave. So we either have to do one thing, one or the other. We would have to pull them back earlier, okay, or we'd have to provide transportation for them to get home. So that's their regular academic day. They have to get on those club buses in order to get home.
So we could run potentially a BOCES / club type of bus, right? They would have to run 5 days. The kids are at BOCES 5 days, but we would run fewer of them, which would be a savings.
And we don't have that dollar amount at the top that savings would be.
The total for club buses is $936,000.
936,000.
So if we were going to anticipate doing half that, for example, right? Then that number would be closer to
468,000.
468,000. You have a couple people with hands raised.
Yeah, do we know how many kids are using these buses? Are we running half-empty, three-quarter empty buses?
Buses many times are not full.
Right. It's certainly an opportunity in this line item to do some work.
Stephanie? Meredith?
So when you say that the BOCES kids come home, do they have to go back to the school for any reason? Like, is it mandated for them to return to the high school?
I think that's what it brings them back to. With the way BOCES transportation works, it's our buses.
It's our buses. So
But they-
potentially our bus could drive the BOCES kids home. There could be certain stops.
Well,
And
right now,
you're
there's-
utilizing that.
There's how many BOCES buses are there that drop off and pick up just at BOCES?
Do you have a round
I
number
would
in that?
imagine it's probably 3 or 4.
That I don't know. I'd have to get that.
Yeah. The question is enough buses to cover the entire district?
Right, it might not be enough, but it's a workaround. Like, it's a way to figure out how we can save some money and still utilize, you're utilizing that bus anyway. He's probably passing half the kids' bus stops to get them back to the high school where they don't need to be. So you're saving money that way. You have to think of these outside of the box kind of thoughts.
Without a doubt, you have to do that. We also have to be cognizant of the fact that could lengthen potentially the bus route, and therefore we would have to hire another bus to do sports or something else. So we just need to be cognizant of how all those pieces in transportation work together.
But if we're cutting a lot of different things, then we don't have as many kids on the bus. I remember years ago, when my kids needed an after-school sports bus, they couldn't get it because we cut them. Everybody was up in arms wide, we cut them. I was even up in arms myself. And then when you gave the reason of why we cut them, because we were spending $750,000 a year for about 20 kids to be bussed around, it made sense why we cut them. So I would like to more visit common sense cuts than just, hey, let's cut this because we can, and let's cut that because we can, like, I want to be more common sense about this. And if that means that we need more time, then I think that there's other things that we can look at to give ourselves some time so that we can, how many kids are utilizing clubs? How many kids are utilizing buses? What kind of impact is this going to have? And give ourselves more time that way.
There's nothing on this list that anybody wants to do.
No, I get it. And there's nothing that I want to cut. But, if a BOCES driver is driving past,
Yeah.
if he's got 30 kids on his bus and he's driving past 15 of their bus stops, it makes more sense if they don't have to be mandated to get themselves back to the high school for anything. Now, if they have to come back to high school because they're involved in sports or whatever, then that's obviously they'd have to get back to the high school.
Ed, perhaps that's something that we can do legally, take a look at in terms of the return back to school.
Any other questions? Stephanie?
How many after-school buses run in middle and high school? How many actual runs are there? Are there more than one? And could we consolidate it to one run so that more people use it? And to address the BOCES thing.
Yes.
The kids have to come back if they're doing anything extracurricular. With that said, I think it's even been shown in Catholic school routes that dropping to one spot is a lot more economical than driving to people's houses. So
What I'll offer is we can come up with a savings. The board can say, cut all, cut half, and then we would then go back, as Meredith is saying, and figure out what you just said and figure out those pieces there and say, you know what, we can only run one. If we do it at 4, then it's going to catch the BOCES kids. They're going to have to wait 20 minutes longer, but it's going to catch them and it's going to catch whatever kids are left for clubs and whatnot. So we're going to do that. That's something that you can charge us to do, we'll do.
Any other questions about busing? All right. Reduce high school drama productions to 1 per school, per high school.
Yes. Right now we have plays and concerts and, dramatic
What's the cost
events and-
associated with that? Do we know?
Yes, we do.
The savings would be $28,330.
28,000, but you probably got about 400 kids affected, so just putting that out there. If you look at the 2 high schools, right, they do 2
Between
shows
the
a
2
year.
high schools. We're talking about
Each
the
high
2
school's
high
probably got a couple of hundred kids between on stage, stage
Crew.
crew, all the people involved, right, for 28,000, okay.
Chris, would that be the same at middle schools? Do they do 2?
Middle schools only do 1 a year.
They only do 1 a year?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Elimination of middle school sports.
Yes, and again, there could be a range here if the board so deemed it.
What is the cost associated with elimination?
It's about 600,000, Michelle?
$626,545.
Alex?
What is the cost associated with putting it back to 1 team per building?
That's the half. That would be $313,000.
That would be 1 team per sport per building. So we wouldn't completely cut, but we would make a cut.
Correct.
What was that, Dylan? 300 what?
$313,273.
Okay, elimination of JV sports. Oh, good, Meredith.
So when you say eliminate eliminate middle school sports, are you saying every middle school sport? So a kid who's never played football before, a kid who's never played lacrosse before, 2 of the most dangerous sports out there, you're going to not have them participate in any middle school sports, get to high school, potentially not have JV sports, and then throw them on a varsity field? Is that what we're proposing?
I don't know that we're at that point, Meredith, that we're proposing that. We're
Okay,
just,
but I want to know
again,
what we're
going through
proposing.
this.
I'm very, when you say eliminate middle school sports, that
I
means
think
to
we're
me,
proposing that we're combining 7th and 8th grade.
so
Well,
people
I
need
think the
to,
proposal is eliminate, but Alex asked the question about combining, right? So one line item just got broken into 2. It's either eliminating the 627,000 or combining them for about 313,000.
not every sport is a 7th or an 8th grade. We have plenty of sports in our middle school that are 7th and 8th grade, and they all participate that way. So that's why I'm unclear. And if I'm unclear, I'm pretty sure that most of the community is unclear.
What's
When we
unclear, because eliminate means do away with.
Do
right?
away with, right.
Do away
So
with.
we're going to do away with
I'm
middle
not
school
suggest-
sports.
That's what's on the list.
Right, and
we
that's
have to
why I'm
make that
saying-
determination.
We have to have a more in-depth conversation. If you're saying eliminate, in my vocabulary, that means gone.
It's gone.
There's no more football. There's no more lacrosse. There's no more wrestling. There's no more volleyball. There's no more basketball, right?
That's what eliminate means, yes.
Okay, so that's what we're telling the community. We're ready to eliminate these sports.
That's what's on the list that was recommended by administration, and we have to make the decision if we go that route, go Alex's suggestion, or not go that way at all.
And we didn't vote on any of this.
We didn't vote
No,
on
I
this.
get it.
Nobody's voting on it.
I'm just saying, I want people to understand what we're proposing here. Because if you say eliminate sports or condense sports, football's already condensed, wrestling's already condensed, lacrosse is already condensed. So,
It would condense the other sports that have two.
which are,
Basketball, volleyball.
Thank
what
you.
other ones? No.
so we're talking about basketball?
Soccer.
Volleyball is condensed, right?
Soccer has 2 in the middle school?
Some have two, some have one. It would condense the ones that have two, whichever ones those are.
Thank you.
All right, so you could easily change eliminate to reduction. Reduction of all, okay, or reduction of half. And that number was based on what we have 2 of, that 313?
We would have to look closely with the athletics department. That's just cutting the budget in half that we knew for the total of middle school sports.
So if we go back and there's only 3 teams per middle school, that number can be
It's-
dropped considerably lower, that savings. And then we'd have to find.
It's definitely more than 3.
You know,
Okay. Yeah, we don't want a precise number on that. JV sports right now is something that you're not recommending, so that's,
Again, this list was Pelletier, figure out what is not mandated, what we could as a board review, what we've done in the past, what we may need to do this time. So that's what this list is. They're not mandated, obviously. Rob, as I said to Mrs. Volpe, you don't want to do any of this. But yes, JV sports is something that you the board could consider. There's a considerable savings there, I believe. Michelle, what's the savings on middle school sports? I'm sorry, JV.
JV is 473,134.
okay. Elimination of unified sports.
This past year, we added a varsity sport, unified sports. We have unified bowling and basketball. It's one team that represents the district. No, there's East and North. That's right. I went to both of them. So there's East and North teams made up of general education students and their special ed peers.
Any costs associated with that?
It's about 40,000.
$44,240.
Again, it's something we didn't have 2 years ago. We could go back to that. The board could say, take a hike, we're keeping it.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, away and non-league, home scrimmages, varsity.
And JV, those are both things we could do where we, Patty, could you explain us a little bit more in depth?
Sure, if we had home scrimmages, then we wouldn't be paying for transportation, which would be a savings for us for all our varsity and JV teams. And by having only away non-league games, we'd be paying for transportation, but we wouldn't be paying the official fees, the scoring fees, the chaperone fees. So again, it's a savings for us. So they'd still be entitled to have scrimmages and non-leagues. It just would be depending on what, it would be home or away, which has been done before.
They'd have a couple fewer scrimmages.
No, they'd still be able to have the same amount that they're entitled to, but they would just work with the other coaches that weren't in the situation that we are in right now.
So they would come here.
Do we have a cost associated with this?
Yes.
The varsity is $42,640, and the JV is $16,720.
And just for clarification, why is it so different? Because like usually, like for my team, for example, if I scrimmage somebody, my JV scrimmages somebody. If
I think it's what was done prior that there were less at the JV level.
okay.
Rob, I have a question.
Yep, Meredith.
When you say that we would not need the chaperones, don't we take chaperones to everything that we go to, or not for scrimmages?
Not when we're doing non-league games because they're earlier on and we're not drawing a crowd for the most part, so we don't send chaperones to that, no.
Perfect, thanks.
And we usually don't send chaperones very often to some of the games that we know that are heavily chaperoned by the teams that are there.
Perfect, thank you.
Other questions? Elimination of student accident insurance.
Unfortunately, we've done this in the past where a student accident insurance we pick up and we are a secondary insurance for parents. If we can cut that completely for savings of $167,000, we can have that policy reviewed and have a savings of about $100,000. Michelle, I think you actually
Yeah,
gave us that information today, right?
On the renewal, yes, we were able to recognize the savings, and they got the policy down from just under 168,000 to the 68,000 for at least the next year.
So the question to the board then would be eliminate completely for a savings of 167 or keep it at the cost of 68.
Correct.
Okay.
Questions from the board? Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
You know, obviously, it keeps opportunities for the kids. We have a lot of things that look like they're low cost that will have big impact. So, you know, 68,000 could save, you know, unified sports. It could save, you know, JV scrimmages. It could save, you know, 28,000 for school for drama. So, you know, isn't that, if we.
Oh, I
eliminated-
understand what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying?
It's the
that's
opportunity
something-
cost of that decision, what you're
Right,
giving up to keep
right.
that. Okay.
Right, so, and, you know, again, the question is how many people utilize this
Yeah.
every year? Is it super high? Is it?
We have numbers of people that we do have a number of people that utilize it each year. We're running a little city here, as everyone knows, right? You got 11,800 kids, something like that, 12,000 kids. And so there are accidents. And it is something that is utilized by our community. Again, at what cost?
Yeah. You know, years ago, when we had to cut this back in 2013, you know, we were told by the administration at that time that nobody had it. Right? No schools have it. We're one of the few schools that have it. And so what the board did was we cut it. And we ran into a problem with when kids got hurt on school grounds and the parents didn't have a primary insurance. This became their primary insurance. And then we learned that that most schools had it, and we were the only school that didn't have it. You know, and I got to be honest, that 1 year or 2 years that we didn't have it, I received a lot of phone calls, parents whose kids broke their ankle in gym class, phys ed class, and we had to tell them, yeah, we have no insurance. You know, you're responsible for all of the medical bills for your child, even though they got hurt in school. You know, in a class they were supposed to be in, they were responsible for that. You know, huge fee. I mean, you know, you go to hospital for a broken ankle, it could be thousands and thousands of dollars. So, you know, to get it down from 168 to 68,000 and provide our all of our students, not just athletes. You know, kid can fall off the bleachers, a kid can fall, you know, in the hallway. Okay, that insurance picks that up. So that's something that you know, when we make that decision, we have to really think about, you know, protecting, you know, our kids so that, you know, if they need that in medical attention, that they have that coverage to be able to get that. Yes.
Does it increase the chances of being sued? And
Yeah,
have the
that's your
district then go
only
into
alternative.
litigation? Right.
So I had to tell a parent a couple of years ago, sue us.
Right,
And that's not what you want to tell a
right.
parent.
And
whose
that would
kid-
probably cost more than
Yeah,
$68,000.
because we got to litigate it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Eliminate overnight trips, out-of-state trips.
Yeah, we have a great many overnight trips, competitions, field trips, and the like. And we could eliminate overnight trips, which would save us on chaperones and substitutes in the buildings to cover for teachers who are out of the buildings on those overnight trips. It's approximately $23,000 in savings. And one way you could do this, the board could decide, you could still have trips, but ask that the parents pay more to cover the cost of the chaperones for the trips to run. So for example, one of the things we had talked about was the senior trip. And it does cost us to cover staff here in the building, and we pay them as chaperones. Instead, we could attempt to, or ask our community to pass that savings, that cost on to them and have them cover the cost. So what they'd pay would be more to go on those overnight trips, but those could technically still run if we did that. So there'd be a savings there, about 23,000. Right, Michelle? Most of it memorized, but not all of it. Thank you.
Questions? Meredith?
Michelle, that senior trip is probably the biggest overnight trip we do, right?
Yeah, 3 days, right? I mean,
3 days, okay. And how much of that 23,000 would you attribute to the senior trip?
I'd have to get that to you. I don't have that off the top of
Rough,
my head.
rough number, 15 grand?
I mean, if
You have to
that's
calculate all the
the
administrators,
number
the
that are
staff,
going, the staff, the principals, the chaperones, I would have to,
Because if we did split that, you know, if each student paid a little bit more, I mean, it's not ideal, but we did have part of the community saying, I would like to pay more to save X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, the trip, this year my son went on it, it was an exceptional trip, it always is. It cost me about $700. So I would figure if we went up, you know, it's not ideal, but if you go up to about $800, that could potentially offset a lot of that cost, right? Because we have almost, I would say about like what, 600, 800 kids that go?
it's a big trip. That
So
would
at
offset.
600 kids, even if you chewed up the whole $23,000, it's only $38 a kid, right? So
So that's, instead of eliminating it, I would definitely say that that's probably something that we should look into rather than cut. See if we can have the parents help out.
That number next year could possibly grow. Something that this board did charge administration with is next year is to restore the Forest Valley trip. You know, so the Forest Valley trip would be 2 nights, 3 days, 2 nights. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday trip. Is that correct? Yeah, so that would, you know, once again, that trip would be more expensive for families to be able to send their kids on that as well. So that $23,000 technically could be more next year, if that is implemented next year. And I know we're looking at that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, none of it's ideal, but if you have, let's say you have a kid that's going on both of these trips, you have a senior and an eighth grade or whatever it is, you're still probably not even at that 400 and something dollars that each household was going to have to come up with. So,
All right. Elimination of district paid PSAT fees.
Yes, right now, currently, we pay the PSAT fees for a portion of the kids, Patty,
We pay for our 10th graders to take the PSATs.
and they
for
take it during
every
the day with
student.
us.
Yes, they do.
Right. So that's why we pay for it. We would not pay for it next year, and then it would be an option to parents to take the test or not, and they would pay for it if they chose to take it.
Yes, the PSAT is definitely offered on the weekends, and the parents would have the opportunity to sign their student up for that.
What's the cost of that?
$24,546.
Okay, any other questions? Overnight, reduce advertising budget.
Right now, we advertise Newsday, LI, Business News. We have a budget line. They have about $35,000. We advertise bids essentially there. And we could do it less and advertise less or use LI Business more, which is less expensive. I think we need both because you need flexibility and you're hitting different groups in those different venues. But I would say that we could reduce of that 35,000, probably 20,000 of that. Michelle, does that make sense? Or did I reverse that number?
15,000.
15. It's, yeah. Keep 20,
Keep
say
20,
15.
yes.
Are these the only 2 available papers?
Well, I don't think so. We could look.
Yeah,
You know.
typically, Alex, these are the 2 that schools use, business paper and then Newsday, because those are the ones that have largest kind of circulation for the
Because we
bids
want,
that
we
we're
want
putting out.
response to our RFPs and our bids.
Yeah.
We want that circulation of people to see them.
Yeah, I mean, we're the second largest school in New York State. I think if a company knew that we were putting our ads in a different paper, that's the paper that they would look in. I mean, if we could reduce that number even more, I'm not going to keep Newsday around and then cut a staff member. If we can cut in other places and keep other things, and that's what I want to do. It's just me, but I have no interest in keeping them around for anything.
All right, and that's the primary paper that most bids for most school
Yes.
districts go into. So that's what the people look at, companies look at those papers. So they may not know to look in a Messenger or look in a. Eliminate BOE contractual, NISBA, School Board Association.
We and every district I know of are members of NISBA, School Boards Association, and there is a budget line there for that. Also, there are monies there for us to attend the legislative breakfast, for the board to attend the convention, which this year is in Manhattan. It's much easier to get to than Syracuse or Buffalo. So there are monies there on that line. You could cut all or some of that.
And as far as services that we get from NISBA,
Policies, access to NISBA staff,
webinars,
webinars, professional development for members, board members.
and what is the cost of that?
The two line items between the conference and the NISBA associations combined are 22,900. The associations are 19,500 of that.
So it's about $19,000 savings.
So theoretically, Rob, you can suspend it for 1 year. It's not like the Northwell, if we get off the list, we
Yeah.
sort of not guaranteed. We can choose to drop it this year and then pick it up next year, or just keep it, or freeze travel, things like that, so.
Seth?
I find value in it, but could we pay privately, like if I wanted to go myself?
I don't believe so. I think it's a membership by district.
Yeah, well,
I think
that's
they base that,
unfortunate.
they base that membership by number of students, I think, too. I think
Right.
most of them.
I mean, I find a lot of value in it, but again, not everybody utilizes it. I would be willing to pay my way.
Okay. Summer chairs from 5 days to 3 days, general ed.
Yep. Patty, would you speak to that for a second, please?
Sure. Our secondary have chair people that come in over the summer. They're usually allotted 5 days on the average for each chairperson per building. And our special ed chairs are allotted 10. In the past, they've had more, but the average has always been 5. By giving them 3, they certainly would be short days that they're used to using to prepare for the school year, to get everything in order for their department.
Savings on that?
$49,280.
Okay, questions about that? Additional unemployment costs based on accessing.
And these last two items, would you explain them, Michelle? I see they have little asterisks there.
The last two items are a function of the staffing. So if we are accessing staff, then our unemployment costs will go up. That will be an additional cost to us. But also our health insurance costs will go down for those excess positions. And all of the iterations that I've done, they've pretty much been almost a wash based on the positions and the health.
Any questions about that from the board?
No, but Rob, just the
Yeah.
questions. We're rattling off some numbers, and frankly, it's a lot of nickel and dime stuff. I know it adds up to maybe 1 or 2 positions, but I don't think we got the cost on the first couple of bullet items, right? So Michelle, the cost associated with 16 reductions, what's that? And then the social work, we just go down the list of the first, on the first column, because I don't think we documented
we
what
didn't,
those costs
yeah.
are.
Okay.
That's
So-
going to help us drive the next round of conversation, right?
Mhm.
So the elementary, the 16 sections is roughly $1.6 million. The 5 social workers are $432,343. The 7 librarians, the 5 elementary and the 2 high school, are $695,468. The 2 roving guards are $74,880.
I'm sorry, what was that?
$74,880. And the secondary staff, the 8 positions, are $653,000. Was that full of them?
But Michelle, the librarians, if we only did the one reduction at each high school, what is that savings?
$198,558.
And then if we did on the top line, the proposed class size, instead of increasing it by 2, increasing it by 1, excising 5 of those sections, and then 5 AIS, what is that number?
Savings is roughly $1 million.
And Michelle, just keep going, right? We've got the 10 positions on the elementary, that's about what, 900,
$991,000.
right? And the 3 FTEs, and then I think just the 3 language teachers as well.
The 3 music would be 430,390, but that would only be if you also did the 10 at the elementary, because you're going down now a seniority list, and those are all under the music tenure area. And the foreign language, the 3 teachers are $259,400.
Okay.
That was, I'm sorry, it's so hard to hear up here. That was the 10 positions?
The 10 music positions?
Yeah.
$991,000.
And in the ensembles, music ensembles?
430,000.
And that's part of the 10?
Right. In
If you
addition,
cut
so
the
now
10,
you
oh.
would be down to number 13 on that list. That's why.
But if you didn't do the music, the 10 positions in elementary, does that change the cost?
So if you don't do the 10 elementary positions and you did the 3 music ensembles, the savings is $233,786.
Okay.
Okay. And then the 3 foreign language teachers. Did we cover that?
259.
259,400.
All right. So I guess we got to do is we have to, what is the number that we have to reduce this by? Is it?
So-
Assessor, any?
If I could, so I'm sorry, I apologize for being late getting here, everybody. So a couple things. First, fundamentally, I guess we need, as a board, decide what the tax percentage is going to be. Are we going to go out at a tax cap levy, a 1.92, or are we considering anything else? I guess we need to set that in stone first, right?
Yeah, at the outset, we mentioned that we'd be going out at the 192.
We
That
voted
was
on that?
prior to you. No, it was not voted on, I don't believe.
No, it was
No,
not, no.
not, so
It wouldn't be a vote, it would be a leaning of the board as to,
I will step
Well,
back
well,
and let you.
Well, I mean, I'm just doing it for Michelle's sake. She needs something in concrete tonight. So
is there anybody that is, I mean, we can go right down the line. I mean, you know, the understanding is with the 1.92%, we're looking at 50% majority plus 1.
correct.
Right? If we go out higher than that and we have a Pierce cap, even if it's 2%, you know, 0.8 higher, we need 60% majority. If that fails, we have to cut another $3 million out of the budget. Is that correct?
No, I understand that completely. I just want to make sure.
Well, I just want to make sure everybody
That
there
the public
understands.
knows what
Yeah.
we're going to do. I think we
Yeah.
should, like we did with the other thing, we should take a vote.
Yeah. Mhm.
And set that in stone. That should be the first order of business, right? Otherwise, otherwise we have a moving target.
We want to start the vote, you know,
Well,
leaning.
I'll make a motion that we go out at 1.92. Do I have a second?
Second.
Well, I don't,
I
don't think-
you're doing something different.
yeah, we're making a motion on the floor.
Yeah, that's
We're giving direction. It's just a leaning. So we'll go down the line. If there's 5 people in the leaning for 1.92%, and that's the direction that we give.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're at
Mr. Attorney, you
1.92,
want to start?
1.92.
Meredith,
1.92.
1.92.
1.92.
Matthew,
1.92.
Stephanie?
Yeah, 1.92.
And I'm at the 1.92 as well.
Okay.
The risk is too high.
I agree. So the second question we got is, at that levy, and I think Vinny pointed out earlier, that actually leaves, well, let me just ask a couple of questions, Michelle. So right now, we are still projecting that on June 30th, we will have $9.2 million left. That'll be the leftover from the general fund,
Correct.
not 21 million.
No,
Because if we had 21 million left over, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right?
correct.
Okay. So we're not underrunning our current year budget by $21 million.
No.
Okay. So, and I think there also was about $247,000 from one of the other reserves to pay for one-time costs associated with the retirees, right?
Correct. Yes.
So right now we're looking at using $9.5 million of our reserves, right? So that leaves, I think, about a $6 million gap now
Correct.
between what we have and what we need to close, right? So now the question becomes, I guess we need to decide as a board how much of that gap we're going to fill with. Remember, these are ongoing programs. how much of that gap are we going to fill with reserves, or are we going to close that gap completely by removing ongoing programs? Right? That's basically where we're now at.
Yeah, hey, Mike, just one right, so before the last vote, I think we were like 6.1 million on a deficit. That's jumped up to 6.5 million because of charter schools. We have an increase in tuition
Oh, yes.
that we have to pay to the charter
That's
school,
right.
right?
I saw that in the package.
So that
yes.
charter school is still coming back to haunt us, and we're paying more money.
Michelle, would you walk us through that, please?
So we had 20 students at the charter school while it was here within our district. They're moving to Central Islip for the new school year. They were kindergarten and first grade this current year. They're now going to institute second and third grade. We had budgeted an additional 5 students going to the school, figuring that they were moving out of the district. You know, we just figured maybe we would have 5 more. There are 35 students now going to the charter school. So we had a budget a little over $150,000 more just in the charter school tuition. And then we've had some adjustments. We did get our final insurance numbers, which I've gone out to market now, and I'm still looking at some other options, but those, estimates came in higher. So now the budget jumped up slightly. So the gap we have now is just under $6.3 million.
Michelle, if you could just be a little bit more clear, that NYSER is our insurance company?
NYSER is our
Right?
insurer.
And NYSER hit us with a $330,000 increase
Yes,
for next
yes.
year.
Mhm.
So, Michelle, it's 6.3 or 6.5?
Just under 6.3.
Okay, because the other day it was 6.5, so it's changed?
I think after there were some reductions, we did have
Okay.
6.287
That's
was
fine.
what we sent out.
So Mike,
now.
that's what you're driving at, right? So we still call it 6.3, 6.4.
That's right.
Then the question is how much reserves, and then what's the gap we have to fill?
Correct.
right?
And then recognizing those reserves actually become a deficit next year because you're trying to fund ongoing programs from a deficit position. So, can I keep going?
Yeah. Questions, good.
So,
Floor's still yours.
I view SACHM as fundamentally an educational institution. And I personally define that as trying to maintain as many of the things possible that directly affect or will directly lead to success inside the classroom. That's where I come from. So to me, increasing class size, I think, has a direct detrimental effect to student success. I think I have educators right here who probably will tell me that. So I work backwards into the last thing I would want to do is eliminate positions of educators. So I don't know where everybody else feels, but that's my starting point.
All right, Meredith?
So going back to charter schools, that increase, is any of that offset by the fact that we don't have to pay for the nurse anymore, or we already figured that in?
Well, we have nurse retirement, so that nurse will come back into the district, but we still have to transport those 35 students to Central Islip now.
Okay.
And the actual rate went up about $700 per student on the charter school tuition.
And do we have any way of knowing if these families know that this 100% sure that their kids are going to be transported all the way from SACHM every day to Central Islip?
I mean, they should know the school.
They
is
should know,
moving,
but they probably haven't told them that. So hopefully it'll go down.
Rob, I'm going to ask a question. Just, Mike, you mentioned class sizes. Where are we at now tracking in terms of our targets, I guess our self-imposed targets?
Just flesh that out a bit more, Vincent, please.
So Mike talked about increasing class sizes, not really for it, right? Where are we today as it relates to the current, let's just take elementary, the first bullet. Are we hitting our targets or are we not even close?
We, depending on the school and the grade level, some places we are very, very low. We could be at 18 students in a section, and in other places you could be at 25. Within the same building, you could be at 18 in K and 24.
So, but not every
in
class,
one.
not every grade level is hitting the targets. There's room
That's
for
correct.
improvement there. Right.
Well, there's definitely space there.
Yeah.
Where not everyone would be up against the target limit.
Right. Okay.
Chris, if that's the case, how does that yield 16 positions? Because I saw the chart you sent,
Yeah.
the package, and I saw, 1 year it was 19 kids class, and the next day was only 3 sections of 25 kids. So that's
Yes, so that's an example of one where that would go up by 5, 6, 7, 8
even
kids.
in the first grade.
Yep. But then there'd be other sections within that building or across grades and other buildings that aren't at the cap. But there's enough there. Patty has been doing this for many years, and Patty saw that if you did it by 2, you could save, you could reduce by 16 sections. If you did it by 1, you'd reduce by 5 sections.
And just because we increase it by 2 doesn't mean that every single class will have that 25 in it, right? If we make it 25, it doesn't mean every class across every school will have 25. Currently, we have some grades that only have 13 kids in them. So
Correct.
that would kind of wash out.
It would just depend on the divisor in that section, just if there's 75 students that 1 year and we up by 1 student, our target, and we're looking at 3, we can actually stay within the 3 instead of adding that 4th class. But some of them are lower than the class average, yes.
Do we have the target numbers? Is that
Yeah,
something
so-
we can share publicly right now?
Yeah, so right now, kindergarten and first grade is 23.
Yep,
Okay. Second grade's 24.
yes.
Third grade's 25. Fourth grade's.
First grade is
26.
24.
Isn't it
Kindergarten's
23?
No, kindergarten is 23, first grade is 24, second grade is 24, third grade is 25, fourth grade is 26, and fifth grade is 27. Yes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So right now, how many programs, how many sections do we have there at 13?
At 13,
13 in the class. That's it.
You'd have to go through the packet. I don't have off the,
Right now, or projected?
Right now.
Merrimack Kindergarten, I think.
Merrimack
both
I
is
have
have
two.
some
two
kindergarten
of
in
them.
Merrimack.
yeah, that's a very low number.
But most of them are above that.
Yeah,
Yes, but they're definitely below the 23 for the most part.
How's that kindergarten? How's the kindergarten enrollment going, by the way?
kindergarten enrollment is up this year
Yes, it is.
by about 37 kids as of last Thursday,
That's two more sections right there.
at Waverly.
Not necessarily, it depends on where they are.
Yeah,
Well,
right now, the bulk of those kids are at Waverly, but from all over the place, not from a specific area or anything like that.
Right,
that's
it's
actually
not from
jumped.
a specific community.
that's jumped considerably in a month, right? It was like 16 at one time.
It keeps going up.
The problem that I'm having with that, and I agree with Mike, is that it took us a long time to reduce it to that number. Okay, and we know, educators know that when that class number is lower, the kids get the attention that they need to be able to, succeed in a classroom. I want people to understand out there is that we have some sections that are going to jump. Okay, by changing it by 2, some sections are going to jump to 6 to 8 kids addition. Okay, in certain sections. So your class is going to go from 19 to 27, right, or 26. At least that's in the report that you sent us. So that's not 2. But here's the frustrating thing about this is that, when I look at like what goes on around the state, we talk about New York City. In 2022, Kathy Hochul signed a law into place that requires New York City schools to reduce their class sizes to no more than 20 students in grades K through 3, no more than 23 students in grade 4 through 8, and no more than 25 students in high school. And the frustrating thing is that was funded. That was funded, those lower class sizes, because even the governor recognizes that lower class sizes, okay, are beneficial to student learning. But here, we're looking at middle school classes that have 32, 33, 34 kids, high school classes that have, that are pushing 35. And it's unfair. And we could sit here all night and talk about what's fair and unfair, but, we're talking about raising class sizes by 2, okay, and taking opportunities away from our kids. That kid that struggles, okay, and has to now wait because he's got 7 additional kids in front of him to get the attention, you lose that kid after a couple of minutes. And that kid is I hate to say it, my experience, that kid is done for the period or done for the day. Kids today come to school with a lot more anxiety. And when you throw that many more kids into a classroom, okay, it is detrimental to their learning. So I agree with Ms. Dicernia, is that's the last thing that I want to touch if we have to. There are other things that we could look at that'll reduce that number, and possibly, use a little bit more out of reserves without putting us in a bad position next year to have to make that money up. Because next year, if we don't make that money up, we're already starting with a gap. We're already starting with a hole. So that's my opinion with that.
If I could also just, something else that I want to think about or the board to consider is any place where there is a comparable community-provided activity, be it a SIAG or a SOSA, is a soccer league, or SYSL, or something in that, well, I think they could play SIAG till they're 13 years old. Wherever there's a comparable community opportunity, that's something that we can eliminate, and the kids will have to go to the outside, but the possibility of playing a sport would still be there, or an art club or a gym or whatever. But I would do that before I affected our educators.
We have significant variations throughout the district in class size. So we can't say that we're going to jump tremendously. I would support increasing by 1 and then discussing other options so that we ease into this and address the situations of the classrooms with 18, with 13, with 15, with even 19. Like our targets, some are off by 5 throughout the district, and some are closer. I mean, I wouldn't, if you're increasing by 1, I wouldn't break sections down where we're hitting the target. We don't need to do that if we're in other classrooms so low. So I don't know the solution to that, but I would support going by 1 and then day after budget vote, jumping in and taking care of the situation. Whether, there's other options than to just increase class size by 1 and have kids in a classroom of 27 children. I don't even see that being necessary.
That's Meredith.
How horrible would it be, Michelle, if we decided to take 6.5 million on top of the already 9.3 that we're taking out of reserves and just closed all our gaps for this year so we could digest everything, so we're not making all these irrational decisions and we're not rushed into all these decisions. We take that out of reserves this year. I'm not looking to take it out every year because then we'll be back to 16,000 in the bank, but we take it out this year. And then we sit down and we make these decisions in a, not in a one night manner, not in a, sports versus teachers versus this versus that versus drama. We sit down and we make small cuts across everything so everybody feels it equally. And we have an entire, 6, 8, 9 months to be able to do that.
And Meredith, I'll jump in if you don't mind on that. Just in terms of the 9 point, whatever it is, right? We have 9.4 right there in terms of use of reserves now, and you're proposing doing another 6.2 million in reserves, which would be over 15 million to start next year's. You'd be starting a deficit of 15 million. I don't know in good conscience that we could begin a year with a new superintendent and walk into that and just delay for 1 year all that needs to be done to get us stable again.
There are certain things, and I know nobody wants to hear it, and none of us want to make any of these cuts. There are certain things that are going to have to happen as we get further down the line. If enrollment keeps going down or even goes up by 37 kids a year, then we're not going to need the amount of teachers that we currently have. So we have to make these decisions anyway. And in the year that we buy ourselves by using reserves, we can go to the governor and we can tell her to eat her words, and we can tell her about the class sizes, and we can fight the fight that we all need to fight, that this community, quite honestly, has gotten very laxed about. Back in the day when we had this meeting, there would have been standing room only in here. So the community needs to fight with the governor. The community needs to fight to get us more money next year. And if we took the money out of reserves for this year, I'm not saying we do it every year, what would be the harm in having this conversation next year after we fight with everybody, after we go out and do what we need to do?
You want me to answer that question, Meredith?
Well, guys, I'd like a factual
I-
answer
I-
versus emotional. So
Yeah.
let's say you do that. Where does that leave our reserves, dollar-wise? We're headed to zero real fast, right?
Right, so I was just
That's
going
why I
to
said
say,
don't take it out every year. Buy us 1
you
year. A
take it all
lot can
out this
change in a
year-
year.
Yeah.
then you don't have it going forward. So if we use the 6 million this year, so now we go into next year's budget with a hole of 15 million, because like I've said in the presentations, the same with your home budget. If you're paying your recurring expenses using your savings, you're eventually going to run out of money. So when we budget, and we're allocating $9.2 million this year, so we're saying in our revenue lines, we have property taxes, we have state aid, we have miscellaneous, and now we're saying our savings, $9.2 million. We're counting on that being there every year. So we know when we close this current school year, we're going to have enough surplus between our revenues and underspending expenditures to cover that. But if we put another $6 million towards that, then next year we have to come up with $15 million before we do anything, before we look at the increases in our health insurance, before we look at increases in salaries, before we touch anything, we're $15 million in the hole. And now we close out this next school year and the budget is so tight that we don't have anything to put back in those reserves. So now we've used our reserves, depleted our savings, and we're still making the same cuts that we're talking about right now, and then some.
So then if 70 some odd % of our budget goes to salaries and benefits and things that we have no control over, then the only logical thing is that unfortunately, as sad as it is, we're going to have to cut teachers at some point. So I'm just asking for 1 year of reserves to save everybody for 1 year. It gives people the opportunity to get things in order. It gives people the opportunity to do things, and things can change in 1 year. Like our economy has changed a lot in 1 year. Our economy can be more positive at this time next year. There's lots of different things, but if we look at it logically, we're in a hole because there's certain things that we can't do away with and change without actually excising. So if we just keep going down that path and we just say, okay, we're going to cut sports, we're going to cut drama, we're going to cut programs, we're going to cut this, but we're not going to make these other hard decisions, then we're going to keep being in the same hole. So if we're going to be in a hole anyway, why not make everybody happy for 1 year, take the money out of the reserves, and try to move forward next year and see where that gets us. I mean, we could get buses together to go to Albany to fight for the money that we're due. I mean, isn't it everybody's understanding that we got shortchanged on money from the government? Why can't we go demand that money back? Why can't we demand that class sizes in New York City are supposed to be 20, 23, and 25, but why should Long Island suffer?
The issue that we're going to have, okay, is if you went through budget line, on each one, you've reduced them to the point where we're not even sure we're going to be able to make that $9.3 million up, $9.2 million up. If we get hit, okay, with another $10 million healthcare bill that's outside of our control, and another $5 million TRS and ERS payment, okay, now we're in the hole for $25 million. Okay, and let's make it even worse. They changed the formula for foundation aid, and we receive flat or maybe a $2 million, $3 million reduction in aid, and now we're at $27 million. $27 million. Everything plus on this list will be gone next year. So when you look at it from a budgeting standpoint, and meeting with internal and external auditors and people who are experts in this area, that is not the way we want to budget. That will bankrupt us in no time. And we will have and before you blink your eyes, we'll have a state monitor here telling us what we can and what we can't do.
And that's why I'm saying do not allow ourselves to do it year after
listen,
year.
I've been on the bus with 300 teachers in Albany. All right, you can look on YouTube, the speech is there. You just Google it. Okay, we went up there. Okay, we only got $2 million increase, and that was taking 350 teachers plus administration, plus the superintendent went up, the assistant superintendent
But
went
you
up.
got 2 million. 2 million right now
Doesn't close a
is,
$27 million gap. That's what it comes down to. It doesn't close a $27 million gap. So before we get to that point, I think we have to be proactive now, okay, rather than kick the can down the road and have to make massive cuts next year.
but then we can't say that we're going to cut little things that cost us $43,000. Then we have to be realistic, and it's sad and it's hurtful, But then we have to be more realistic.
We haven't finalized that though, Meredith. We might go through here and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to reduce the marching band and the robotics club by the dollar amount, and we just have to make it up somewhere else, or we have to put more reserves towards that.
That's what I'm
You know,
saying.
but
Make
we
it up
haven't
someplace else.
got there yet. We're going each item, you know, to see where everybody's at. We're at the first item, and that was it. Mike said he didn't want to raise class sizes, as I did. Stephanie said she's comfortable with going up by one. So what we do is we take a leaning and see where we're at. You know, if there's 5 people here that are comfortable with going up by one, okay, then we go up by one. That's what we're gonna have to. That'll be our starting point for our budget. You know, our budget reduction. All right. So, yes, Vinny.
Yeah, I don't think we're making rash decisions because we've known about this now for months or weeks, right? And I've talked about this several times, is we're too big. We've got to make adjustments in the size of this district. Regardless of whether, you know, enrollment's going up a little bit, we are too big and we've got to make the adjustments. So, and we can't kick the can a year. We're at a pivotal moment now. We've got to make some changes now, and we're most likely going to have to make changes next year as well. So,
If I could, I thought Mr. Isernia had a good idea. I apologize if I'm overstepping, but the idea of, look at 6 point, let's come up with a number we feel solid with in terms of reserves, which is 3 or 4 or 2, whatever we feel, and then build from that other end. Does that make sense, Ms. Pigowitz?
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the one that we originally proposed, where we were using the 9.2, and then it was an additional, 3.1? Is that something that you would still say is a safe? And then we would have to find 3 million in cuts. Is that something that you feel is still a safe number?
We're still more than likely not going to be able to completely close that gap next year. So we're starting with 12.
Michelle, a little closer to the mic or a little
We're
louder, I'm
starting
sorry.
with a $12 million hole then. And then we're not going to have, you know, the surplus to put back, you know, that full amount.
Vinny?
so what I'd be comfortable doing is we've got the 9.2. We've already agreed on the last option that went out to the public of 247,000, right? So what is that, 9.4? And I'd be comfortable stretching it to the Union Avenue sale money, right? What did we sell that for? 1.75 million, less broker fees. So we're going to net about 1.6 million. I'd be comfortable pushing reserves up to $2 million, but that's about it. Where does that put us? Is that in a better position? Because we're going to get the Union Avenue funds. That's fairly likely, right?
Right, so
And we can replenish. And then we go to work on this list.
Surplus, because that would be it's an unanticipated revenue, because you don't budget for those one-offs. So that money would come in and be then available for the next year.
That's what Mr. Reynolds is saying, is that if we utilize 2 million in reserves, and that money comes in, then that money can go into reserves. as
We're
surplus
less of a
next year.
hole next year.
So it'll be almost a wash.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what you're,
So that's what I'm comfortable with at this point.
I actually have that written down. Yes, Mr. Cerny.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I mean, and this goes back years ago, Sachem has typically never had an expenditure problem, it's typically had a revenue problem. In fact, this year's budget is actually going up at a rate of 3.7% and actually is going up in total about $400,000 less than last year that everybody voted for. But nobody bothered to realize that, I guess, right? Because we were within the cap. We actually are only going up 13.4 million this year. We went up 13.8 last year at a rate of 3.96%. This budget actually started to contract, as Vinny was just talking about. So it's a shame that, again, and I think I mentioned this every PTA meeting I went, we are being fiscally strangled to death by 2 formulas we have no control over. We don't control the foundation aid formula, and we don't control the tax cap formula. And we can't allow ourselves to get into a position of using reserves to fund ongoing programs. We have to, although let me go on the record saying I do agree with exactly what Vinny just said, because I think we will get the Union Avenue money this year, and we'll just use that and allow that to become surplus in the general fund. So we'd have to make a conscious realization next year that maybe we don't do $9 million worth of capital project, maybe, right? We'd have to reduce that. But I'm comfortable, if this board is comfortable, I'm comfortable with using $2 million of the reserves, and we find a way to close $4 million in cuts. That I'd be comfortable with that.
Everybody okay with that? Mike, you yes. Meredith? No? All right. Sabrina?
Can I have a minute?
Sure. Alex?
which one of these is the 4 million? I mean,
Well, we would have to get to.
yeah, I mean, if
We have
we
to-
only get to 3, then I would take 3 out. If we only get to, I'm not going to agree to 4 yet until we know exactly what everyone agrees to here. Let's see how much we can save, or at least what we agree to save. And well, what if we don't get there, Mike? What if we don't get 5 to get there? Listen, the land of make-believe is a really fun place, but let's really talk about the problem. The governor is the one person who put us back against the wall, one person. The legislature voted, and they did that. The city's a nice place, but I encourage everyone to go home and look at where all the majority sits for the Assembly and the Senate. They all sit in the 5 boroughs. The majority of both those houses sit in the boroughs. They get everything they want. Hip Hop Museum, pool in the Hudson, $2.4 billion for illegal immigrants. That's what they get, right? In the meanwhile, Suffolk County, which she lost and she will continue to lose, gets nothing other than the schools that she wants. So that's the real problem. We could go up there until we're red in the face. It's not going to change.
No.
We could fight and yell and scream. She knows her bread is not buttered here. She'll hang out in the city, hang out in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and she's not coming here. Okay? We have to make a decision. We can either get our reserves down to 0 until there's nothing left and then be backed against the wall, or the community put us here to make tough decisions. They spoke a week ago or 2, whatever it was, and we could kick the can down the road. That's the choice that we made. I don't know. I don't think kicking the can is the right choice. I think we need to make tough decisions now.
Matthew, you okay with the 2 million? 2 additional million out of reserves?
Come back.
I'm sorry? Come back to you.
Come back to me.
Stephanie?
Without talking to Sabrina prior to this, I was thinking everything she said. So I support the 2 million. I would go more out of reserves with the promise that we have to really dig deep and fix the spending problem we have, even if it's not our fault. We could blame, but ultimately we're spending money we don't have. So that has to be corrected. So if I could be promised that we will go and work hard next year to figure out how to fix this problem, then I would go with even the 3 million, like Sabrina said, because it's our tax money and it's sitting there for a rainy day. And I feel we have a gun to our head, and I don't feel we're making the best decision we could have if we had more time to plan this out better. We were blindsided by money being reduced that we thought we were
We're
getting.
limited by time. 1 week from today, from actually 6 days from now,
Right.
we have to adopt this budget.
I absolutely, I
So-
agree, but I
Yeah.
would lean more towards what Sabrina suggested.
Just a comment. So again, Stephanie, to your point, I've asked for this now several times. My email March 8th spelled it out. I've asked recently top to bottom review of the district, what's mandated, what's necessary, what's nice to haves. That's what we need to start July 1st. With the same board here, we need to dig down deep. I've gone through 220 pages, as I know some people like Alex have done as well, of the budget. And we've got to get deep into the infrastructure of this district to see what else we can be changing. That's longer term. Okay, but short term, we're at a critical point. These decisions have to be made now anyway, in addition to what else we have to do. So,
Meredith?
And that's exactly why I was proposing what I'm proposing, because we can sit there. Like, what did I say to you guys before? We're one of very few districts, if not the only one, that buses up to a half a mile when New York State mandates busing for a mile. Imagine how much money we could save. I know it's not ideal, but these are the hard decisions that we would make, but we can't make them now because we need the public to vote on that. So if you do take it out of reserves for this year only, and you get everything, and then you sit down and you say, okay, busing costs us this. If the public is ready to go for it, we'll go a half a mile we'll go a full mile instead of a half a mile. That saves X. And then you see where, you go through everything line by line and figure out where you can. And yes, what's nice to have, what's mandated to have, and that way you can go through everything. I don't think that we've ever sat and fully gone, some of you individually have gone through, but I don't think we've ever sat and said, hey, this would save us X amount every single year moving forward. This would do that. This would do that. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, you can make every cut to this school district. And until you start cutting the things that cost us the most money, busing, salaries, there's not much else you're going to do. Eventually, you're going to come to a point where you're just going to cut everything from these kids. And for what? Because we couldn't sit and go line by line because we didn't have the time? I don't think that's fair to kids. I'm asking 1 year. I'm not asking us to do it every year.
I just want the perception out there is that we didn't do our due diligence. Michelle, you went line by line. You reduced the lines to the point where you don't even think we're going to get the $9.2 million back in surplus. Is that correct?
Correct.
So we've done that. The perception in the community should not be that we did not do that.
Then we are currently spending more than we can. And then we have real decisions. Like we have
As
to,
I already said, we have a revenue problem, not an expenditure problem. That's our issue. We're not
okay, and
getting.
how do you raise revenue? You can't move anybody else into the district to pay taxes. If anything,
No.
we have households that are, we have a lot more
Yeah.
people in them that aren't.
Rob,
I'll
paying
tell you where I'm at.
1 cent.
I'm the only one that
I'll
didn't
just
get
add to that, Rob,
Yeah.
just to your point, yes. Because in that line item, there were tons of notes, tons of cuts that Michelle and the team did, right? And that's their job. But again, I think as a governance board, we've got to continue to look at it because this is
Absolutely.
not a this year problem. It's this year, it's next year, it's the year after. So it's
But-
something we're going to have to do. And we're going to have to charge the administration to do because that's their job and they've got to present us the recommendations, right? So-
Listen, nobody knows this budget better than our business officials, our business officers, everybody that works in a business department, the Ron Sachs, the Michelle's, and everybody that works. I know I'm forgetting a whole bunch of people, but this starts in October, and they've gone through this budget. And we have to, at some point, rely on the recommendations of not only our business officials, but we have to rely on the recommendations of our auditors, internal auditors, the finance professionals and
Right,
they're
but sometimes
saying,
people have to
there's-
think outside the box.
Murray, we think outside the box all the time.
Did anybody else come up with the mile, half mile thing? Nobody else did.
Once again,
That's something that maybe it would pass, maybe it wouldn't, but if you show
That's
them
not-
how much money
that's
it
a
would
next year
save.
That's a next year thing that we
Right,
have
which
to-
is why I'm just asking for a
yeah,
year.
yeah.
That's why nobody.
So the thing is, I didn't get a chance to weigh in, all right? I'm hearing $3 million, okay? Stephanie said that, Sabrina said that, Mike said $2 million. I'm at the $2.5 million mark. That's a compromise. That's smack right in the middle. So we'd have to take that money and figure out minus $2.5 million from reserves, what would we need to cut? The money's on here. There's $8 million worth of cuts here. It's not that we can't find the money. We could find the money. It's here. It's on this white piece of paper. The question is do we want to do it now or do we want to kick the can down the road? I think we need to do it now. Look, the community asked us and said, look, we don't want to lose these things, okay? What would it cost to keep everything in place? Michelle came up with a number to keep everything in place without, once again, hurting our reserves, okay? And that number was at 4.87%, all right? It didn't pass. So now we're at the point now we have to find the reductions on this white sheet of paper. Yes, Mike?
Rob, let me just point out, the community, a majority, albeit a slim one, did support that proposed plan. But for a law that weighs my yes vote less than their no vote, we would not be even in the discussion. So for the community's sake, thank you. We know you, although it was slim, we did have a majority of people vote for that proposed plan, and I appreciate that.
So we're not here until 2 a.m, okay? Let's go line by line here as to where we're at. Okay, right now it's increase elementary class size by none, 0. Okay, increase it by 1 or increase it by 2. All right, where are we at? Mike? 0. Meredith?
I mean,
No increases.
Right.
Yes,
I would compromise an increase by 1.
by 1. Sabrina,
Um,
want to come back to you?
I want to say 0, but I would compromise to 1.
Okay, Alex?
1.
Matthew?
1.
All right, Stephanie?
1.
Vinny?
2's the right number, but I'll go with 1.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm at 0, okay? Only because I think it impacts our kids, but there's 5 for increasing it by 1. Reduce 5 social workers.
Hey, Rob, question, does
yes.
does that include AIS?
Yeah,
What
so
about
that
the
would be-
AIS?
that would
Because
be-
we're going to reduce elementary by 1, but in addition,
That's a separate
that's
category.
a separate category.
And you
Okay,
guys can go through that
Got
just
it.
like you did now.
Yep.
AAS are academic intervention services. We provide them. They are mandated, but we provide them at a level that is beyond that. We can reduce that and share services.
Okay.
And that would Patty, how many?
That would be 5 additional elementary positions.
Okay, let's start this way. Vinny?
We talking AIS?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 5.
5.
No,
Matthew?
Patty,
I
can you
went
go
to-
through that one more time? I'm sorry. So there was 16 on there. When we agreed to 1, that brings that number down to 10, correct?
5.
It's 5 and 5?
It
Yes,
brings-
so there's 5 of them would be through going above 1 on the cap. That would be your 5 elementary by going 1 above when needed, and it's not needed in many. And then 5 additional elementary teachers would be your AIS teachers. We have 10 right now, AIS teachers for math. They'd be split between buildings, reducing it to 5.
So that number goes from 16 to 10 when we voted for 1.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Stephanie, you were at no. Matthew?
Are we on the social workers?
We are on
AIS.
AIS.
Can we clarify the cost? I'm sorry, because
Oh, we have to
it's
get
1
that.
million for the 5.
When you voted for this, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the 10.
No,
That's it.
okay.
So
We-
it's approximately $100,000 per staff member. So if you just went with the 5 to increase the class size by 1, your savings would be 500,000. If you did the 5 AIS in addition, the savings would be $1 million.
Not many big rocks here, right? These are the big rocks, guys. That's unfortunate, but that's the big rocks.
All right, so elementary teachers by 1, increasing the cap size by 1 is 500,000. AIS would be an additional 500,000. That's 5 staff members. All right, Vinny, you were yes. Stephanie, you were no. Matthew? Want to come back to you?
No, I'm just, which line are we on? I don't even-
So if we move this number to 5,
Right?
that would increase.
Are we still on the
by
first one?
Yes.
Oh.
If the summer changes to 5.
Yes.
Alex?
Yeah, and this whole list is terrible.
Okay. Sabrina?
No.
Mary?
Yes.
Mike? No. Where are we at?
4.
I'll go to no.
That's 5 no's.
Chris, you felt that we could cover all of the AIS services with the reduction of 5?
It's a reduction in AIS services. Nobody wants to do it, but you could do it.
And we could still be in compliance with New York State?
We would be in compliance, yes.
All right, so we have 5
That said no.
no's. All right,
Yeah, Matt changed his mind, so.
So what's the net dollar effect? Did we just,
$500,000, we have to
Okay.
find somewhere else.
okay. And Michelle's keeping track?
Yes.
Michelle, you're running the tab, right?
Yes, that was line 1.
What's the target number we're hitting? 4 million?
Well,
3.9, 3.9, I think.
3.9 million?
Okay, so we're at 500,000. Reduction of 1 librarian? What's that?
Well, it's the 5 social
social
workers.
Oh, did I skip? Oh, 5 social workers.
I'm a
Yeah, this
yes.
is COVID, this is money, positions that we're putting for COVID.
Right, I'm a yes.
All right, Vinny, yes?
yes.
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Meredith?
Yes.
I'm a yes, only because it was COVID money. So that reduces it 432,000. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Librarians, we can go 1 at each high school of savings of 198,000, okay, or we could do 7, okay, for a total of 695. All right, I'll start over here, Mike. You're a no? Meredith? Actually, let's do one at a time. Let's do the, we're going to go 0 reductions, 2 reductions, or 7 reductions.
Okay.
One at each, 0 would be we're not cutting any.
Right.
2 would be 1 at each high school, okay? They're leaving,
2 there.
Oh, there's 3 there now?
No, there's 1 in each high school for a total of 2.
so it'd be 1 librarian in the high school
Yeah.
to match librarians to the middle schools.
1 in each high school.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 2 in each high school now. The option is to reduce it by 1.
Chris, you speak into the mic.
I'm so sorry. There's 2 in each high school now. What's on the table is reduce 0 or reduce 2, which would be, you'd have 1 librarian then in each high school instead of the 2. Or 7, which would be the 2 secondary high school folks and 5 elementary.
You could put another option out there too, right? You can go 0, you can go 2, you can go 5, or you can go all of it, right?
You could do 5, you could do 7.
Right.
You could do
So you have
5, you
all-
could
yeah.
do 7.
So Mike, you're at 2.
I'm 2 for the 1 for each high school.
Meredith?
I'll go for the one for each high school.
Sabrina?
1 from each high school.
Alex?
2.
Okay. Matthew?
I'm okay with 1 at each high school.
Stephanie?
Yeah, the high school one. I'm using my calculator.
Sure, yeah.
to try to keep along.
And Vinny?
Yeah, the high school, 1 in each high school. is
And
fine.
I'm okay with the 1 at each high school.
So just to be clear, that's 198,000 saved.
Yes.
Okay. Huh? Okay, I didn't get there. I'm like,
Security guards, okay, it would be the reduction of 2 roving security guards.
I'm a no on that.
All right. Stephanie?
could we revisit again? Or
Let's go
this is,
around and see what we
okay,
have
so
at 5.
I'm a yes, but more leaning, I'm not as confident in this one. So I think a no. In a perfect world, it's a no, but possibly yes. So I'm a yes now, but
Matthew?
I
Can I
could
just
be
ask,
changed.
what would that leave us with roving security? How many?
We don't characterize them by numbers. We have hours and positions. So we added 2, so that's why we're proposing removing 2. We still would have several rovers to cover the district. We just would be strained compared to what we have now. I still think obviously we'd be safe. We lived that way for many years. We added the 2 a
Chris,
year
just
ago,
to
I
add something,
believe.
the Rovers responded today to an incident at Merrimack, and that was the Rovers who did that?
The Merrimack has their own, everyone has their
Okay.
own. The rovers come and support that.
Okay.
And yes, when there's an incident that they need to support, it allows the guard that's there to continue to do the service that he's doing already.
I mean, yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Sabrina? Yes. Meredith?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
All right, that's a majority, and just for the record, I'm a yes as well. Reduce secondary staff by 8 full-time educators at 653,000, okay? Just understand it, in the budget already, we have 8 already reduced. This would be an additional 8. All right, Mike, we'll start over here. Maybe, Chris, because you could just, Mike wasn't here, I think, earlier. I don't know if you heard how that plays out as far as how it impacts classes and things.
Patty does our staffing. She looked at the numbers and felt that we could reduce at the secondary level throughout different departments a total of 8 staff members without greatly impacting class sizes and still be able to offer the courses essentially that we're offering. We did cut some courses that were low enrolled, which we do every year.
That's a big ticket item, it's 653,000.
I'm a no.
Patty, the options to that, instead of reducing it by 8, can you be reduced by 4? To cut that number down a little bit?
So by reducing by the 8, we are actually reducing by 4 because we're going to be taking 4 of the reductions on the regular side and moving them over to the alternate high school that we're opening this year. So it'll be 4 staff, But as far as budget, it looks like the 8, if that makes sense.
It does, but just explain, yeah, see, once we start getting
I know.
into that detail, it gets confusing. So the proposal is 8,
Yes.
reduced by 8. However, we know that we're working with developing an alternative high school. And by doing that, we're going to have to bring our own staff over to
Yes.
staff that alternative high school. And therefore, of those 8 that we would excess, we're actually going to keep 4 of them
Yes.
here. But we're saving the totality of the 8.
Yes,
Okay.
financially.
Did I help at all?
So $653,000 savings, but 4 people would,
But we already put with that, the alternate high school has already been budgeted for in the
next year.
budget. So you would see the savings of 653 because it's already been, the alternate high school's already been put into the budget.
so we budgeted for 4 positions in the budget, but we're reducing 8.
So we said.
4
yes, it's
people.
gonna be 4 people?
4 people, not 8. So Patty, can you do 4 and then have only 2 people lose their position?
Well, if I did 4,
Then 0
then
lose.
we'd have
Nobody
no,
Yep.
just the original
So
8 that
can we
were
do
going.
that and calculate the savings still?
The savings would be 0 because if you're cutting, you're saying cut 4, so it would be half of the 653.
Right. Michelle, does that make sense?
A laptop's starting to smoke over there.
So instead of the 8 positions, we're looking at 4 positions, and those 4 positions will be moved over to the
Right.
Galt High School.
Yeah, but what's your
So
savings?
the savings would be 326,600.
And no one loses their job, right?
Except
we
for the
had
original 8
the
that
original
we've
8.
already
Oh, my
budgeted.
goodness, of course. That's a whole different other piece. We're piling a lot in here tonight.
You have to turn your mic on.
So if that line item's had reduced by 4, we'd save $325,000 and those 4 people would be transferred to the alternate high school. Okay, so I'm good with 4.
Yeah, maybe not those specific people,
Right,
but our
4.
staff.
Right.
Meredith?
Just come back to me.
I'm a no.
You're a no. Alex? Matt?
I'm okay with the 4. I mean,
Stephanie?
I'm not okay with it, but
4.
Vinny?
I'll go with 4 now, but reserve the right to come back to 8, depending on where our final number is, because we have no idea where we're headed. We're only at 1.2 million. If we had 300 at 1.5, we still got a big number to go. So I'm okay with the 4, but we may need to revisit.
Alex?
I'm exactly where Vinny is.
We're-
We're not going to get to 3.9 if that's what the goal is, if we do that, but
So you're at the 4, but with the opportunity to
come
revisit.
back. We have to come back.
So what is that savings?
327,000?
I'm going to put an asterisk next to that. Eliminate half the elementary music positions, that's 10 positions, 990,000. All right. Vinny?
Can you explain
I'm a
this
no
little
on that
more?
one.
Yeah, could you just give an explanation, Patty, on the 10?
So that 10 elementary, we'd be removing a music teacher from each elementary school that does the band and orchestra. They would just, the music teacher in the building would just be doing the general music classes if we remove them.
I'm a no, Rob, on that one.
70?
I have a question. If we did 5, could you do some sort of every other day, keep both opportunities for band and orchestra, and just not have it be
I'm assuming
completely
it's going to be
eliminated?
10 or none, right? You can't
It
really
has to
split
be
them?
10 or none? That's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure how we could do it scheduling-wise if we did every other day, because it's band, orchestra, and chorus.
So it's 3 things.
Do they all meet every day? Because I don't remember when my kids were back then.
They don't meet every day, and if we were splitting them, that would be the issue. Because we'd have lessons in there as well.
You got- Yeah, you
But you couldn't make some kind of a compromise and make it where they have, the band kids have band twice one week, but once the next week, the chorus kids have once this week, twice the next week. We couldn't do that?
I think scheduling it would be
Yeah, I don't know how
very
you schedule that,
difficult.
Patty.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 10 or nothing.
Stephanie, do you want me to come back to you?
It's such a big number that it would help get to our goal, but it's at such a great expense. So I can't. I wish there was a way to make it that we cut that in half and we still give opportunities to our kids.
Hey, Rob?
So I need to come back.
Maybe what we should just do is do exactly what we're doing, just keep going. So she's undecided on this one, let Mag, we'll go. Let's see if we get everything we get to 5 is a good to go, and then we got to go back and backfill the next amount. You have to just keep doing iterations of this, right?
Yeah, Matthew?
No.
Alex?
No.
Sabrina?
No.
I'm a no. Meredith?
I'm a no.
No.
Okay, so that failed. Music ensembles, 3 FTEs. That's, I'm assuming that would be what, middle school or just high school?
Just high school.
We'll start over here.
I'll
Mike?
start this one. I'm a no on. The kids need this to get scholarships. It's just as important to them to get scholarships as our sports kids.
Yeah, we don't want it. We have all the elementary kids learning to play their instruments, and they're not going to have any place to play them, so I'm a no.
Okay. Sabrina?
Nope.
Alex?
No.
Matthew?
No.
Stephanie?
Apologies. You can't combine, no, because it's high school and elementary, so, yeah, right, so no.
I'm a no.
Okay. Noes have it. I'm a no as well. 6th grade foreign language teachers, 259,000.
I'm a yes on that one.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Matthew?
Yeah, it's a shame. Such a great program. I'm a yes.
Yes.
No.
Meredith?
No.
Mike?
Yes. Yes.
That's 5 yeses. All right. It's 259,400. Eliminate Northwell partnership. Mike, we'll start with you.
I'm a yes on that.
All right.
I'm a yes.
Okay, Sabrina?
Sorry. I need a minute.
Okay. Alex?
Pass.
Matthew?
Yes.
Okay, Stephanie?
No.
Vinny?
I'm a no.
Where are we at?
3-2.
3-2?
Yep.
We want to revisit and see how we make out at the end?
Yeah, good idea.
Elementary clubs excluding treasurers at the obviously elementary level, $83,620.
You want me to start?
Yep.
I'm a yes on that.
Stephanie?
I have a list, so let me just check my list. I'm a no. I will revisit, but I'm a no for right now.
Matthew?
Yes.
Alex?
No, but I'll revisit.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yeah. Mike?
So for all the PTA people I talked to out there, I do apologize. I am going to vote yes on this, and I just know you PTAs will step up and take care of these kids.
Where are we at? Is that 5?
Yep.
I'm a yes.
Okay.
Reduce secondary clubs by 50%. All right, what was the savings on that?
$235,600.
$235,000. All right,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Meredith.
Mike brought up a really good point with the PTAs, but on the clubs, if there were something that, were really interesting to certain families, is there a way that we could have families volunteer to have some type of a club, and then we would allow them to use the building? So let's say there was a club that's going to get nixed, and somebody steps up and volunteers their time. Because all that the clubs cost is the stipend, right? We don't necessarily have to give them stuff.
I don't know you can do that, Meredith.
Can't do it?
I think it has to be negotiated.
Yeah,
Oh.
the clubs are owned by that, yeah, that's their work.
Could be an ownership or work issue pursuant to the contract. So that could be claim work under the contract, under the applicable CBA.
Vinny?
So if we change that to a 25% reduction, right? Because 50%, I think the majority of those funds go to a handful of clubs, right? So if we reduced it by 25%, what's that dollar value? Just like 100,000? 117? I mean, is that an option people are willing to consider?
We gotta get to that $3.9 million.
Oh, I know. We can always revisit it. You look at the club numbers at the high school level. This is secondary, right? So we go to 6,000 kids, right, who participate in clubs at the secondary between 3 middle schools. So it's just a lot. So it should be reduced, but maybe not 50%. So
Do you want to put the half of that for now and then revisit?
yeah,
Okay.
if we can,
If that's.
right? So if we do 25%
So
reduction
117, Michelle will add right now,
and then come back to,
for the asterisk.
I'm gonna ask you next week. Everybody okay with that? 25%, and see where we land with.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
We are at the reduction of marching band by 50%.
I'm a no.
Stephanie?
No.
Okay. Matthew?
No.
I'm a no. We have one marching band for the entire district, no.
No.
Okay. Meredith?
I'm a hard no on that one.
Michael?
I'm a yes on that.
It's such a small amount of money, I think it could be absorbed by reserves. I'm a no. Right, so that's 10,000
no.
comes out. All right, robotics, reduction by 50%, it's 12,500.
I'm a no.
I'm a no.
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 Yes.
All right, once again, it's 12,500. Such a small number that impacts a lot of kids. I'm a no on that. Elimination of club buses.
Could we move that one, go to the next list and leave that? Because that's a significant, big ticket item perhaps. We may have discussions on that.
Are we okay with that?
Maybe we jump up to
The problem with that, Vin, is that that could determine
Oh,
what we say
I-
yes or no on the next one.
All right, I got you.
That's the only reason to keep it in order.
All right, so-
I think,
all right.
I mean, it's a lot of money.
yeah. All right, we can have that vote now. Maybe start at Mike.
Well, the only thing is that
What exactly are we voting on?
we don't know what we're voting on. $936,000 is, we limit all of them. But as we mentioned earlier, we have an issue with potentially getting OC students home, Korean Tech ed students. We might be obligated to provide them with transportation as regular academic transportation like we do every other student. So, the question is do we want to eliminate half of it, okay, and preserve 416,000 of it to be able to have that wiggle room and then adjust it as we need it?
Why don't we keep a half at 500,000 and we'll stay 436,000
We can do that,
so that there is wiggle room. in
I
case
think
there
that
has
makes
to be.
sense.
okay?
So
All right,
minus
so-
436, it's a little bit more than half, but
And we'll have to build it,
yeah.
Yeah.
and there will be less busing.
So are we going half or are we going 500,000? Right now, it's proposed as 936. Do we want to go up 416? Or do we wanna
Just go
up just at
500,000.
500,000?
That's,
All right,
500 is good. I'm
so
good
the
with
leaning
that.
right now is for 500,000. Vinny?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Stephanie?
To keep 500 or cut 500?
Budget 500,000, okay, we would save,
So we're
we would save
416?
436,000.
So it would cut 436,000.
Okay, all right, I could go higher with this, with the plan to take care of the students that need to get home.
So we budget 500,000,
500,
doesn't that,
I'm good with that. I'm good
doesn't mean
with
we're
that.
going to use all
That's a yes.
500,000.
I'm good with that.
I'm a yes.
Um,
On the 500.
Alex?
Yes.
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 I'm a yes as well. So it's a $436,000 reduction. All right, reduce high school drama productions to 1 per school. It's $28,000.
I'm a no.
Wait, I'm a no.
I'm a yes.
I'm a no.
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 Mike?
No.
All right, noes have it. Okay. Eliminate JV sports, it's 73,000. Oh, did I miss one?
Middle school
Oh,
sports.
middle school sports, my apologies.
I'll start that. I'm a hard no.
Actually, Mike,
I'm a yes.
okay. Sabrina?
We're voting on eliminating?
Well, this would, we can go around on the elimination of all, 626,000, and then we can come back around and we could talk about elimination of 313,000.
I'm looking at the 313.
All right, so you're knowing it's 626, all right? Alex?
I'm a no, but I will reduce and combine to one team.
Okay. Matthew?
Yeah, also, I'm a no, but I'm okay with combining.
Stephanie?
Did Meredith get to vote?
She voted no.
I voted no because I thought we were talking about elimination, but I will go.
We're going to come back around again on the
Consolidation.
313.
Okay, okay. I'm a no for eliminating.
Yeah, I'm a no for eliminating, but I'll reduce.
Okay, so the reduction is 313,279. Okay, Vinny?
I'm good with that.
If we can yell out, all right. All right. All right, so we don't know, because we don't know the number of teams, but we would be reducing 313,000 from that.
That's the issue. Need to know exactly the number of teams to quantify how much we'd be reducing by. So the proposal originally was all of it. So now we're going to have to go back and look specifically at what reducing those teams to 1 would do. So that savings could be closer to 200,000 as opposed to 313. I can't guarantee it. But we could come up with a number, a best estimate for now, and have that number for you.
That's,
I think it'd be wise to reduce. Michelle, you want to? Okay, so a safe number would be 250, and let's have that first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, Vinny, 250?
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Stephanie?
I'm a no for now, but I'll revisit.
I'm a yes to combine.
Yes.
Matthew, where you
I'm a
at?
yes to combine.
Sorry.
Sabrina, yes? Meredith?
I will combine.
Michael?
I'm a no.
Okay, and just, I mean, there's enough for it, but I would be a yes for the 626. We have to make cuts, and those services can be seeked outside of school. So it's going to be a negative 250,000.
So you're yes to combining.
Yes, yes
no,
to the
no.
combining.
I'm a yes to combining, but my initial vote would have been elimination
Yes to
of
every-
626,000.
So what's, I apologize.
so-
Ron.
so
So what are we doing?
250 reduction.
Okay.
JV sports, Sylvia, Mike?
Are we talking about eliminating?
Once again, elimination would be 473,000.
I'm a yes.
Absolutely not.
Okay, Sabrina?
No.
Alex?
No.
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 Yeah, I'm a no on that.
And I'd be a no on that as well.
What's the number on that?
It was 473,000,
473?
but it's
That's not-
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm writing every one of them down.
Elimination of unified sports.
I'll start that one, no way.
Michael?
I'm a yes.
Really just started it. Sabrina? Just real quick, just for a point of clarification, unified sports is a varsity sport sanctioned by Section 11. So we just said no to JV, right? So just keep that in mind, I guess, as we go around. You're a no.
No.
Matthew? No to eliminate, yes.
Sorry, absolutely not.
There's no way, no.
No.
Okay, and I'm a no. All right, so it's, all right, away non-league and home scrimmages, negative 42,600.
Can I ask a question?
Yep,
It's not eliminating scrimmages, it's just keeping them home.
yep.
Okay, I'm a yes for that.
Vinnie? Vinnie?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
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 I'm okay with that one.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. It's 42,600. Away non-league home scrimmages for JV, 16,000.
Yes.
Clarification, it's just, they're
Yep,
going to
same
be
as-
home.
same as the
Exactly,
previous one.
yes.
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 I'm a yes as well. $16,720. Elimination of student accident insurance. I guess you said we had a quote of $68,000.
So the savings would be roughly $100,000 to keep it,
So it would be, to keep it would be a reduction of 100,000.
correct?
Okay, go around, Mike.
So we are saving $100,000 by eliminating. So I'm a yes.
No, it cost us 168. Michelle was able to negotiate it and get it for 68,000.
The
So if we
broker
keep it-
negotiated it.
So if we keep it, we get $100,000 savings, we pay $68,000 for it.
Okay, so I'm a yes then.
I'm a yes, we're keeping it.
I'm a yes. But that was.
And that's not what
Yeah.
we're doing.
So- All
Michelle,
right, let's just do it this way.
yep. Clarify again, Michelle.
Student accident insurance, okay?
We-
Yes and no on the $68,000.
Yeah. Yeah, just count that number.
$68,000. So it would be a $68,000 reduction, all right?
We're saving 100,000.
I thought it was a $100,000 saving.
It's still $100,000 savings.
So guys, the vote is to eliminate student accident insurance, and the cost is $68,000. So I'm a no to eliminate.
No to eliminate.
Right.
No to eliminate the 68,000.
Keep the coverage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, with the savings, keep it. Yes.
So you're a no. To
I mean,
eliminate.
a no, sorry.
Yeah, the no vote is $100,000.
It's very stressful up
No.
here.
No.
No.
All right.
No.
Michael, I'm a no. I say we keep the coverage. All right. So you're going to list it as $100,000 savings. You're going to keep the coverage, $100,000 savings.
On our list, we're putting $100,000.
Mine
Correct.
is 100.
Right.
Yes.
Next ones are easy.
Okay, eliminate overnight trips and out-of-state trips,
That's a tough one.
$23,000 savings. Sylvia, Mike?
I would say yes to that, but the proviso that they can always self-fund.
Yes, that's the
Alright.
proposal, actually.
23,000, I think that the trips give them a lot more. I'm a no, don't eliminate them.
Sabrina?
No.
You're a no to cut it. Alex?
I'm with Mike, as long as they have the option to self-fund. I mean, this, and it's not, it could be more than 23,000. Is that correct if we add Frost Valley in? Okay, so I'm a, what did you vote, Mike? Yes to cut. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Yes to cut. Alex, Matthew?
I'm with Alex and Mike. I like that idea. I wouldn't want to eliminate them, but yeah, the
Self-fund.
self-fund.
Stephanie?
No, they're educational.
No, so keep the trips, but again, it's not, we just figured it out. It's $30 to $40 per student. So if we go that route, I'm keep the trip, but self-fund. At least they get to keep the trips.
Okay, so where are we at?
That's four.
It's not 5.
All right, I'll change to keep the trips as long as they can self-fund them. I don't want to do away with the trips.
All right, so $23,000. It passes. Eliminate district paid SAT fees, $24,000, $24,500. PSATs.
Yeah, I'm a yes.
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 Yes, we could still provide them, but they would
Yes.
pay for them themselves.
Yes.
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 Good.
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Reduce advertising budget to, is it $15,000 savings or? Mike?
Yes.
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 Yes, and I still think we should go shopping elsewhere.
Matthew?
Yes, we should find a newspaper that is in anti-education.
Okay, Stephanie?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes as well. It's negative 15,000. Eliminate BOE contractual NISBA School Board Association. Was at a $19,000 savings.
I'm a yes.
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 No.
Yes.
I was a no, but it passes. $19,000 savings. Okay, reduce summer chairs from 5 days to 3 days. It's $49,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
I'm going to pay, I just don't want to say yes to something and then they can't get the work done. So I'm just concerned that, I mean, I would like to hear at least from the chair people who do this. So I'm going to pass.
Sabrina?
No.
Meredith?
I'm going to abstain because I don't really understand it enough to say yes or no.
Okay.
I'm a yes.
Where are we at?
Four.
I'm a yes.
What's the cost on that one?
$49,280. All right, so where are we at? Dollar-wise?
We're at 2.97 million in savings. If you wanted to get down to an additional 2.5 million in reserves, we have to cut an additional 816,000.
816,000. All right, so the things that we're at, we came back to, was AIS. That was $500,000. It's 5 AIS positions. It allows us to be able to do AIS to the levels that we want to provide and still be in compliance.
Yeah, I'm a yes on that one.
Stephanie?
And that savings is $500,000?
$500,000, yes.
So can we go to 250?
Well,
Would that help?
Then we have to find another $500,000.
Right, no. I get it, but, you know, it's also an important service, so
Okay.
I would be okay
It's not saying, we're
halving
not
it.
eliminating it, we're just
Right, no, I know, but it's still,
doing it
it's still an
differently.
important service.
That-
so
Is that,
I
that
would-
is a
I would-
recommendation of the administration? Once again, I know none of it's a recommendation of the administration. You
Right.
feel that it could be
Yeah.
done with the reduction of 5?
Patty, you looked at the numbers in terms of, our plan was 5 if we
Our
had to.
plan was 5, just
If we
because
had
there's
to,
10
because you have 10
elementary
buildings,
schools.
so then you split
It
between the
would
two
be
buildings.
So
splitting.
just splitting it,
Yeah.
I'm
They'd be
still-
divided by
I'm a
2.
no, it's important.
okay? Matthew?
Yes.
Alex?
I guess a 10.
You're a yes, Matthew, right?
I'm a no. I think I'm at my threshold and I can use more reserves from here.
Okay. Sabrina?
I'm a no.
Okay. Meredith?
Is that a possibility? Could we use more reserves? Would that be sustainable? Or are we going to just be here next year and we're
We're
going
going to be
to end up?
next year, probably cutting again.
Then unfortunately, I have to be a yes.
So, Attorney,
I'm a no.
where are we at? What do we have? 4 no's? 3 yeses? It doesn't really matter what I say, unless I say no. But then we have to make that 500,000 up somewhere else, and we're running out of spots, so we're going to be going back
So
down.
Rob, what's left on the list then? Just park that one and what's left on the list?
Northwell Health. Okay, was, I don't know, the dollar amount in front of me, was it 100?
Oh, and secondary
Secondary
staff.
staff.
Northwell Health, we came back to.
Right, and secondary staff and Northwell Health with the 2, right? Did we
Michelle,
land-
did you add the 1.8 already? 180,000, I'm sorry, for Northwell?
No.
No.
No, I didn't take that out.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
All right, so we're Northwell Health.
Yeah, I'm still a no, so
You're no on Northwell Health? taking
I'm
that?
keeping it.
Keep it, okay.
I prefer to keep it. Yeah.
Stephanie?
What am I
I
voting?
mean, the stats don't
Northwell
lie,
Health.
right? So-
Yes to keep it or no to keep, what's the
Yeah.
vote?
Yeah.
To eliminate it.
Eliminate it,
No.
yes or no? There
No.
you go, no.
Matthew?
I'm a yes. I thought we were,
Alex?
Yes.
Yes.
Sabrina's yes.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
It's 5. All right, so Northwell Health comes out. What was the dollar amount on that?
180,000.
180. Okay. Secondary clubs, where 25% reduction is 117,000. Said that we would come back to it if we didn't get to the number we were looking at.
So we got to go to secondary staff too.
We just did
We
that.
said we would do the 4, but
Well-
possibly come back to 8 if we had to.
Well, we started with that.
No, that was,
Did we start with that?
we started with the AIS.
We started with AIS.
Oh. All right. So that's a $327,000 savings. All right. Mike, we'll start here.
No, it would be
327.
53 if we went with the full 8.
Okay.
Yeah, we already agreed to.
Oh, so we agreed to half. It was
We
a
agreed
4.
to half.
It
so
would
the
be an
whole thing would
additional
be 653.
$326,000 savings if you went back to the 8 secondary staff.
It would be 600.
It would be 653,000.
What's the gap right now we're dealing with? 816, oh, it's 636?
636.
636? And we agreed on 2.5 million on reserves?
Wait, out of that 600 and change, we already have, in your tally, we already have some money, don't we? Because we were agreeing to 4 before, so
Yes.
didn't we have 300
We're
and something?
agreeing to an additional 2.5 million in reserves. So to get to that number, we need an additional 636,000 in reductions.
So yes, Meredith.
Right, but on the 8 secondaries, we already have 300,000 built into that number that you tallied for us.
Yes.
So now we're just voting on an additional savings of 300 and something thousand.
Correct.
Okay. On top of the 180 that we just saved. Closing in on that 800 and what?
So we have 636 is the gap. We have 2 open items, secondary staff and secondary clubs.
And secondary staff would save us 326,
326,000.
327 additional.
327.
And then secondary clubs is another 117. And then you got a gap of 193, so.
But of the 327, the total amount was 653. 4 of those people are already built into the budget. So it'll only be 4 positions, okay? Because 4 are going to be built into the budget for the alternative night program.
Can I also suggest that rather than reserving $500,000 in the buses, let's only reserve $436,000 and put that other $124,000 towards the
Swap
gap?
it.
Swap it.
The buses,
Because it was 936 and we said
Yeah.
we would reserve 500,000 in the budget rather than 500,000. Let's just reverse it to the.
The only
450.
reason I suggested that is because they said they didn't know exactly what the number is. So if
Right.
we're wrong, then what?
Well, if we're off by $436,000, that's bad, just as bad as being off by 500,000.
I know.
So is everybody okay to flip-flop that? Say 500,000,
Yeah,
cut 500,000
the
instead of.
correction
Say
would be fewer busing again.
436,000.
Fewer buses again. That
Okay.
would be the correction.
So
Michelle, do you hear that?
you'd save an additional 64,000.
Well, could you even look at, since middle school sports is getting reduced, that even their 4:30 buses could be reduced?
If we eliminate, well, we're not eliminating.
You're
we're-
reducing
we're
it, so you're gonna have
reducing.
less kids in those sports, so you're gonna have
They still have
even
to
less
go to-
kids taking the bus home. So that's somewhere else you could look to.
Transportation, when it comes to those types of things, we can say there's busing or there isn't, right? So
Right.
we could find some medium in there that we would settle on and say, here's what we're going to provide. Here's the money that's allocated to do it. Provide what you can with those funds.
Okay.
So we're $500,000
Reduction.
reduction on the club busing. We are at, North Dakota is gone,
So where are we at? 600? 572?
572.
So secondary staff, Rob, that's I think where we're at.
Can we talk about the AIS, the 5? How do we do AIS in the district, and how is that impact, what's that impact going to be? Reducing the 5 AIS?
It would be probably larger groups in the AIS because they're pullouts, and then probably looking at more push-in services as well to service more kids, and then differentiate for some of the kids, level it.
So we could revisit that as well. Do you feel that we could provide adequate services with the reduction of 5?
Again, I know we'd be meeting the mandates that we need. We'd be servicing the students, so we'd just need to be, how we service them might be different than they're receiving this year.
And folks
Prioritize
would
the
have to
kids'
travel
need.
now, right? So there'd be even a greater
We'd do it
reduction.
by days if we were splitting them, so they
Okay.
wouldn't have to miss a period.
Okay.
Meredith?
When you originally were telling us about the 16 positions, that did not include 5 AIS teachers, right?
Patty, the 16 was the reduction from raising class size by 2.
That was the 16 from reduction of class sizes.
Right, and it didn't include any AIS teachers.
No.
That's correct.
That's just elementary. So now by raising it by 1, it's 5.
So we're
elementary,
raising it by 1, then there's 5 elementary teachers, and then we need 5 AIS
District-wide.
possibly. Okay.
Alex?
We've talked a lot about teachers on here. Can we talk about admins a little bit more?
Good?
I don't want to underman any of our buildings because we get in the suspension report, but if we have to talk about 2 more, then we have to talk about 2 more. I mean, everybody's taking a hit here.
2 more, 3 more.
I don't know, whatever we can feel like we can do.
So eliminating 3 administrators still would not put anybody out of work. We're just reducing the position. Okay, and we have positions open in the district to absorb. Is that correct?
We will have positions open, yes, by some of the movements.
And so I'm suspecting that you're talking about 3 middle school APs.
Well, we've already talked
already-
about 2 high school,
2 high
already
schools.
built in. And I don't want to outnumber kids to admins, and I know they have a job to do, but this pain has to be felt equally across the board. And it's not something that anybody wants. I don't want any of this, but
Yeah.
we've got to at least talk about it before we talk. I mean, this is a lot in one night, and I know nobody's happy.
That would be
Just-
about a $600,000 reduction, correct?
3.
3 APs.
Before you even get that number, I'm going to caution against reducing APs at the middle schools. There are 900 students in the middle schools. You're talking about having one AP and one principal for 900 kids. I'm concerned about that.
Patty, you want to weigh in on it?
I would agree with Chris completely. When we did it back, we had 4 middle schools when there was 1 assistant principal. The middle school teacher, administrators are dealing with a lot more students and a lot more issues than they have in the past. We're seeing a lot more fights and discipline issues.
There are 39 administrators in the district. We reduced 2 already, so we have 37. Now you're talking about reducing another 3. If we do the percentages there, I just am concerned about the building overall, the culture of the building overall, the tone of the building overall in terms of those 3 middle schools having, again, 800 to 900 kids in them. You have one person out sick, or there's one field trip that they're attending to, or one issue that can consume someone's entire day. None one wants to do any of these things, but that's why it's not on the list. I'm concerned about reducing additional administrators, particularly anywhere. But I caution against it. The board has the final decision, but
So where else in the budget can we go look?
Could we think about a teacher dean at the middle schools?
well, if you had deans, you would then reduce their class load, and then therefore, if I would have them teach only a couple periods a day, overall, you'd lose then because you have to make up those classes by hiring a teacher to cover those sections.
Stephanie?
I mean, I don't want to say it again, but I really think we could go to 3 million in reserves. We're at 3 million in cuts. You know, we're fighting over things that are really detrimental. And you know, I'm going to say it again, the Northwell Health thing is really going to impact our kids in a negative way. So, you know, then we're going to cut more staff, and then we're going to, I mean, an AIS, like, I mean, how much student-facing stuff are we going to continue to cut to keep $500,000? I don't see it. The governor cut us what? You know, there's so many numbers running around. How much did we not get from her?
Well, we anticipated what's the due minimum again, Michelle? What was the due minimum that we anticipated getting this year?
$2.8 million.
Yeah, which we did not
2.8.
receive.
And we just, on my calculations, we're at 2.967. Like, why are we doing this? We have the reserves. I get it's going to put us in a horrible situation next year, but we're in a horrible situation right now. So I would want to use another $500,000 in reserves.
Patty?
Phil Targrasso just texted me that by combining the middle school sports, it would only be a savings about 100,000 because it would be basketball,
So there's
volleyball, a total of
150,000.
12 teams. So it would be 150 less than what we anticipated.
So Rob, just a quick question. So again, looking at the budget, and we've got school psychologists. We haven't even talked about that. Is there an opportunity to look at that department? We're talking about social workers on top of the cuts we already made. Yes, these are hard decisions, but we spent over $3 million on school psychologists. Is everybody strapped? What's their workload like? Is that an area? Again, hard questions. Nobody wants to ask them, but they've got to be asked, right?
Yep, I can answer that question. These services are mandated. There is no breaks in people's day. There are no lounging. There is no, people are working, and that's not an area that we can go in. These are IEP driven oftentimes, and therefore not an area that we'd be able to cut.
Fair enough. The question just needs to be asked.
I understand.
Because the community
understand.
needs to know, right? Not everybody's in tune with the IEP, so it has to be asked.
Vincent, since my arrival, really, I came during COVID, right? And a lot of money kind of came during that time. And we used that money well for our kids, for COVID relief, for mental health. We used it for improving Saturday schools and enrichment. I mean, we used it, clubs, a ton of things. And so unfortunately, we don't have those funds anymore. And yes, you have to ask the hard questions, and we have to make the hard decisions, and we have to make these cuts. But there's a proposal on the table from Stephanie that potentially you could speak to in terms of coming to a number that's a
Michelle,
little
what's
bit
the gap
different.
now with the revised number on middle school sports? What's the gap?
723,000.
723.
That's at what, what was that number at? 4 point something?
We've
3.9 we started with.
So we've eliminated 3,064,000, and we still have the gap of 3.2 million.
To get down to
So to get-
2,500.
To get down to 2.5 million, we need
2.5
another
billion.
722,619
Okay.
What's the total again right now, Michelle?
of reductions.
Yeah.
3,064,497.
So by using additional reserves, we're probably just shy of like 3.2 million, right? 3.2 and change.
And that's about where we told the community when we first proposed it.
Yeah.
So
I'd be okay with that and stopping
and-
this exercise and
and really,
Moving
I mean,
forward.
other than busing, there's
Yeah.
other things that we could talk about, but seriously, having them now and not wait until the budget
Yeah.
season next year.
yeah.
That $3.2 million that we were going to use in additional reserves is based on Pierce budget and setting that tax.
I know where it was. Yeah.
That's not there next year.
Yeah. I mean, we can continue on. It's just going to get harder and harder, right? Not that it's not hard enough,
Again,
but
unless you split the difference, with 700,000 off, unless you find 350,000 more, and split the difference. Still have to make that money up next year.
What's the other half of the secondary clubs?
Yeah.
117.
I'm sorry, what's the other 25% worth of the secondary clubs?
117.
117?
Mike, that would only leave honor societies and/or student.
Decimates
All
the
the other
clubs.
clubs would be gone.
You get 6,000 kids using these clubs.
We have kids that aren't in the honor societies, and
It's,
because they're not in the honor society, they're out. Now it's the haves and have-nots. I mean, we have reserves. The community's built that up with their yeses over the years. I think that we at least owe it to them we went halfway. We owe it to them to use reserves and have more difficult conversations.
Every penny you use in reserves, you're funding
Yeah.
ongoing programs from a deficit position. It's just going to make next year harder.
Mike,
You're going to do this
you've
all
been
over
heard
again.
loud and clear.
Yeah.
Don't
You've been
lecture
heard.
me. Do not lecture me.
Well, you got up with your
Guys,
laser
hold
pointer
on.
a couple meetings ago and tried it.
Hold
I
on.
mean, it didn't work.
We're not-
We
listen.
tried it and it failed.
We have different opinions. You got to be respectful to the opinions. That's all. All right? Mike makes a point, you make a point. The thing is, next year will be harder. There's no question about it. So that's what it comes down to. Meredith.
Like, I get what you're saying, and things will definitely be harder next year, but I think that this is, I mean, we have cut to the bones. I don't know where you're going to find another 300,000. I mean, the only thing I could think of is doing something with the music teachers, and that's, we've already cut so many positions, so many programs, so many opportunities, and we've done it in a responsible way. And I understand what you guys say about reserves, but I'm telling you, things will be different next year. If gas prices aren't as high as they are, look at how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we will save in gas. If we are able to get the community to come together and vote about buses, we can save hundreds of thousands of dollars there. That's what reserves is for. It's to get us through these tricky
Community doesn't vote on
situations.
buses.
Yes, you have to make good decisions so that moving forward, you're not funding things, you said yourself today, we have been overstaffed, so we're doing what we can. We've cut. I just don't see us sitting here and trying to find another 300,000 at the expense of people's lives.
just a clarification, the community doesn't vote on buses, right?
Community has to vote. You'd put it
On
out to the
buses?
community. They have to,
Yes,
Changing the
distance,
distance?
changing the
Yes,
distance,
okay.
yes.
because
Okay.
every place else is 1 mile. We're
Got
a
it.
half a mile. You
That's
know how much that,
definitely a next year, beginning of the year conversation to have.
Yeah,
If
okay,
you're going to
no,
have that
Thank
conversation.
you.
Stephanie?
I'm beating a dead horse with the club bus. But, I mean, we're leaving how much in that line? $400,000? I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot. If we're looking to cut, administrators for a bus. You know what I mean?
So we don't have a final number. They are going to go back and do the final number. We've said 436. There is a chance that it can come back less, and then we
I
have
get
less
but
that we use out of
We still have
reserves.
700,000 to get down to if we don't take from reserves. So, music teacher or
Right.
busing.
But that's what I'm saying. If we agree to right now, because there is some unknown here. The buses can't be completely cut because of the BOCES thing that Rob brought up. That
I
was smart.
understand, and my child would be impacted by this cut
Right.
with the buses.
So-
But the other side of it is that there's opportunities that you're not getting on a bus.
So if we agree to cut the 500 and leave the 436, and then they do all their work and they come back and they say, hey, listen, guys, if we reduce it this way, we can save
I got
another
you.
200,000, then you're down to 500 out of reserves. Again, this is what reserves is
Are
for.
we,
so you
are we
can-
making a decision on the reserves? What are we doing?
Well, you would have to make a decision tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
We'd have to make a decision tonight, and just, what we go out with tonight, it would be a leaning. Next week, we would adopt it. The adoption would be a full vote of the board, and that's what it would be. And it takes 5 to approve the adopted budget. Understand that if, I'm gonna make this very loud and clear for the community to understand, is that if this second budget fails, okay, we have to find $3 million, okay, on top of what we, so $3 million more was what would have to be found. And all our capital projects would be gone. Right? Our softball fields that the community just voted and supported would be gone. Okay, any hardening of doors and security upgrades would be gone. So as long as we understand that if this 1.92 fails, okay, we have $2.8 million more in cuts that we need to make. Yeah, because we go to full austerity. And austerity today is not the same austerity from 15 or 20 years ago. 20 years ago, austerity meant you could raise the budget 3%. All right, so as long as we understand that. If there's a majority right now to say, look, we're going to use $3.2 million in reserves, then it's going to be $3.2 million in reserves. We don't all have to agree on it, but it takes 5 people to move in that direction.
So I'll
start it.
propose that.
What's that?
I'll propose that so we can start it.
Yeah, I'll start it off. I'm okay with that, so.
Okay, there's 2.
Stephanie? Matthew?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
All right, that's 5. Meredith? All right, Michael?
No.
Yeah. Me, there's already a board majority. I would like to split that difference a little bit, that 700,000, but there's a board majority. So 3.2 million in reserves, the cuts that we proposed. The question is, that they come back and there's a discrepancy by next week, and they say, oh, you know what, we envisioned it was going to be 500,000 in savings, so they have 300. Then are we going to go back and take another 200,000 out of reserves, or are we going to find the cuts? That's what
Let's cross that bridge if we have to, but yeah. So,
We have things that we didn't revisit, but I don't
What?
want to have to revisit them now.
Let me ask you a question. Is it
So-
staffing?
It is.
Then I'm not interested in that.
Right,
if the
but
board
I mean,
majority
it's
wants
stuff
to-
we did say we would
Yeah.
go back to and revisit, but I'm not, that's why I
We
asked
already-
about
we
the
already cut a lot of
increase.
staffing.
I agree, that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to go in the reserves.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying if we have some kind of discrepancy, we can have these discussions again.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think going with the reserves is the right thing.
Matthew?
Yeah, just want to plant a little seed in everyone's head about just going back to the middle school assistant principals. In my district, and it was a time where people were being excessed, instead of hiring another AAP, they would make a teacher dean. So maybe take one of those teachers that were being excessed and instead make them into a teacher dean. So you'd still have the coverage in the schools, but you were saving a job. So it's just
And the
something
overages could be paid for by the overages that we have built.
they'd be
into the
paid as a
budget.
teacher, So just
In order to make up those 3 periods I'm talking about. So the 3 periods that they're working as a dean. we
They
would
don't
just-
teach at all.
No, they wouldn't be a
It's
teacher.
full-
They'd be a
it's
teacher
full-time
dean.
but you'd
Meaning
still have
they're
to
not
do stuff to
they're
fill
not
their
admin.
Workload.
No, that means they're not admin, but they're
They do.
they work as a dean.
In his district, they do dean all day.
Yeah, it's a teacher on special duty, so it'd be teacher salary plus a stipend.
And that would save $300,000 or more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Then you're going to hire people to replace them
as teachers. Yeah, we would save.
No,
Well, no,
I'm talking about teachers that are being excessed. Instead of being excessed, they'd be made into a dean. So you're saving,
He's saying cut the APs.
but
and save
you're
three
saving on
teachers.
the AP salary.
Yes.
Makes sense if you think about it.
Excuse me just one moment. I just think we might have one issue with unit work, just like we discussed some things with the clubs, with the CTA. If we were accessing an administrator and then assigning some work to an SCTA member.
Yeah. All right. All right, so we're at $3.2 million. The only thing I would say is you have to keep us up to date as to where we are with the numbers, the accuracy with the numbers. Because if we have to find additional monies in there, so we don't exceed that $3.2 million in reserves, then we have to come back next week before we adopt. We'd have to make some revisions, and then we would have to then put it up for a motion to adopt. All right, everybody okay with that? Okay.
Just to the public, I know you know that none of us took any of this lightly and that most of us haven't slept in weeks. We need you to come out. We need you to come out and we need you to vote. We need you to pass this budget. And then we need you to come out and we need you to open your mouths, as we know you all can. And we need you to speak to this governor and we need you to support Sachem and get the money that is due back to us.
Up the superintendent's report, which is the budget. Okay, business items, we have a consent agenda A through E. I need a motion, please. Okay, Matthew, second, Vinnie. Any questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. That brings us to visitors. Okay, so we have quite a few visitors. We are going to limit it to 3 minutes. I'm going to ask the clerk to just, give us a 10-second, like at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Just let them know that time's running up, and really kind of let's stay within that 3 minutes because we do have quite a bit here. All right, the first people I'm going to call up, and I think it's a pair, Jennifer and Veronica Pasella and Jennifer Buono. I apologize if are they here? If you guys want to come up to the microphone up here. Yeah, Chris. I apologize if I butchered your name.
Well, you've already made a decision that we're in agreement with, and we were here to plead to you to reconsider not cutting the theater program at the high school.
We didn't.
You didn't, I
We
know.
didn't. It's still, okay.
So I'm very happy about that. I don't know if we should continue, but that's what we were going to speak to you about.
Okay.
So it's up to you if you want to hear our plea or not.
Well, you worked hard on it. You might as well do it.
We did, okay. Well, my name is Veronica Pasella. I'm a Sachem resident. I was a Sachem parent. I'm now a current Sachem grandparent of 5 in the district, and I'm a retired Sachem teacher. So we were going to urge you to reconsider its plan to not fully support or fund the Sachem Outstanding Drama Club and the theater program. The theater program is extremely important, especially to our children who are in it, looking to get college credit from senior theater. Let's see. And East and North have consistently staged high-caliber, entertaining, first-rate plays. The list is like Broadway itself. Grease, Footloose, West Side Story, Rumors, to name just a few. All of these productions brought top-notch theater to the Sachem community, something that we're very proud of. The teachers have worked tirelessly, and the students, to bring these productions to life. Mr. Lucas, Ms. Kolodny, Mr. Flayhaven, and especially Mr. DiPerzio put in countless hours above and beyond to create these marvelous productions. Truly, Sachem's Drama Club and theater program is a labor of love for them, as the long days and weekends of preparation attest. One would be hard-pressed to find teachers who give greater effort. Students benefit greatly from the theater program as well as the drama club. The confidence a high school student gains, and I can tell you that my grandson is one of those students, gains from performing before peers, parents, and the community at large, will continue throughout their lives, just as competing on the sports field teaches valuable lessons of preparation, dedication, group effort, and the drive to succeed, so too does the drama club and theater program for these fine students. To see the many parts of the theater production coalesce into a play that results in standing ovations from audiences is a remarkable achievement.
You're approaching 3 minutes, please.
Okay. I think I'm good, because I got what I wanted, so I'm very happy.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jennifer Buono, and I'd like to thank you all too with your decision today regarding the drama club. But we also ask that you keep in mind with the theater classes. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of my son Joseph and the cast and crew from Sachem Drama. We understand that as a Board of Education, you have difficult decisions to make. Sachem Drama is at a pivotal point in our history. At East, where my son attends, there are currently 115 students that are part of the cast, crew, and pit of the drama department, a group that has truly become a family. Did you know they are one of the most diverse groups on campus, made up of student athletes, musicians, general education students, BOCES students, and special education students, all thriving together in an inclusive environment. Not many other activities are as large or are made up of so many different groups as ours. In the past few years, the program has seen so much growth thanks to your support. We now have 3 classes at East for our students to sign up for, and a senior theater course was going to earn them college credits slated for the fall. In addition, this would be financially beneficial to the school district. The same was being built at North, with this being the first year of course offerings there. You all helped us start this new legacy. New lighting and sound equipment is being installed this summer. So we're pleading with you to really consider these students, and like you did tonight with their second show, but also with the theater program and their classes. Please remember that Sachem Drama is not much of a financial liability on the district, as we use money from ticket sales to help us offset the cost of our shows, which you did tonight. We have more students than ever attending college with majors in theater arts, stagecraft, and more because of the classes they took part in the last few years and the shows they were able to perform in. Our students need these shows and classes on their resume to be competitive with their peers while applying to schools.
Thank you. You're approaching 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you again tonight, and I just hope you keep us all in mind.
Thank you for coming out. Fred Gorman. Is he here? Joan O'Connell.
Hi, good evening. You handled a lot of the things I was going to talk about. There is one line item on here that I think you should just maybe adjust, that first one, because it's very confusing that I think it includes AIS as well as, because otherwise if it didn't include AIS, reduced in half wouldn't just be 5. So I'm a little confused.
It does not include AS, Ms. O'Connell.
Then how do we just get down from 16 to 5?
How do we get down from what?
16 sections to 5.
So because
You don't have to explain it to me. You guys just need to understand it.
We do.
we.
Okay, because AIS is not listed anyplace here, is it?
It's not.
No, it's not.
Okay,
So increasing the target number by 1 reduces 5 staff members.
instead of 16?
Increasing the number by 2 reduces 16.
Okay, okay, that seems to be a big jump. That's all. It just was a little confusing to me when we threw in AIS and stuff. As long as you guys understand it, fine. It just, okay. One thing that I would really wish you would add back in is the Northwell. And I'm going to tell you, personal thing, my niece hasn't gone to school, it's not this district, in another district, for 3 months. And all the school keeps telling her mother, we're going to report you to CPS. Okay, that's all she's getting. She's been trying for a year to get this child in to see a psychologist and psychiatrist. She finally got her in to see a psychiatrist who doesn't believe in prescribing medications. So she now has to start over. The psychologist was via Zoom, isn't even local, and the kid hates her, and the mother kind of agrees. So now again, she needs to start over. So this child is not going to go to school, probably will not start school in September. This child will probably be out of school for 2 years before she gets any help. That's just one child. For $180,000, getting our children the help that they need. And by the way, this child's mother is a teacher in another district as well. Okay, so she's doing everything she can. She's using every resource she can. She's got doctors trying to get her, people, and so forth. And if you stop this program now, you might never get back in it. This is not something you can say, we're going to not do it for a year and then going to take it up again.
You're approaching 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay? I really think it's something you need to do. One other thing, for moving forward, 10 years ago when we closed our schools, we knew we had to redistrict, but we didn't. We need to redistrict and we need to close schools.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connell. Thank you. Carol Lachlan? She's here. Victoria Marino?
Good evening, Dr. Pelletieri, Board of Education, Administration, and everyone in attendance tonight. My name is Victoria Marino, and although I've been an employee of Sachem since 2005 in the IT department and currently an active SCTA/TA rep, I am speaking as a parent and a community member of 26 years tonight. I know we have a lot of hard decisions to make, and I'd like to encourage our community to support and come out and vote. But we need to thank some important people. I want to thank you to our classroom teachers who impact our children daily with their efforts to provide them with the knowledge they will take into the world, with the lessons that they have left a mark on their lives. Thank you to our special area teachers, Art for opening up our children's creative minds, the librarians for opening up the windows to the world and inspiring our children to explore and achieve, as well to improve their research and technology skills. PE for developing activities that build on students' interests and strengths. Our band, music, and orchestra who stimulate, challenge, and enrich our students and provide a space for them to perform. Reading and math who unlock the world of letters and numbers to empower our children. Speech, E&L, and resource for your continued support helping to encourage them. Thank you to all of these teachers I have mentioned who loved their students and their colleagues enough to selflessly open up their contracts and trying to prevent a disastrous budget outcome. Thank you to our support staff, the TAs and aides who provide daily support. In IT, we're the SCAs who provide daily technological support to the students, staff, and teachers, and the staff developers who provide the training for the staff and enrichment for the children. Our custodians, our office staff, the guidance counselors, our nurses who work tirelessly to care for our children by providing them their care in the most vulnerable times. our social workers and psychologists who inspire and encourage, especially during this time when mental health issues are at their highest and are so much needed. Our cafeteria employees, lunch aides, security monitors, our security guards. It's a very rough time. And to some of these people I've mentioned who may now lose their jobs as a result of the initial failed budget, I'm so very sorry, as they're not just cutbacks, it's your livelihood, and I'm holding on to a miracle for this to be resolved in your favor and a passing of the next budget. But most importantly, to my daughter, who's going to be a senior next year. You know, she made a lot of sacrifices in middle school due to COVID. And I told her, don't worry about it. Things are going to change. You're going to get to high school. You'll have so many more opportunities.
Ma'am, you're approaching 3 minutes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mom and Dad did their best. We voted yes for you. I'm sorry it was not enough, and that your last year in Sachem may not be as bright as your sister and brother previously had. But I will hope and hold on to the hope that this Board of Ed and the administration will find a way to make it happen, and the community will support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Janine West? She here? Yeah. Maria Sanders?
Hello. I'm so sorry, I was at the other end of the room. I'd like to start by saying thank you so much for really taking the time to look at every single line and in making your decisions. I'd like to give you a little opinion from just a mom. We talk about students and their mental health and what's important to them and what will help them the most, right? So the greatest thing that you can do for a student is to give them opportunities. We were looking at budget cuts of hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars. The thing that stands out to me is, where are we? 33,000 in elementary school cuts. And Mr. Isernia, you mentioned the PTA. The PTA is always, I'm speaking as a mom, but I have a little experience with PTA. So I can say that the PTA is always willing to support and help the students. We can't take over that position. The PTA parents cannot run the clubs. Like, we're not allowed to. We're talking, another number that came up was the 117,000 in secondary clubs, right? Again, these are opportunities for our children. Perhaps consider using that. Yes, they're reserve funds. Yes, it's a one-time fix, but it is taxpayer dollars, right? Utilize a little more of that money to give more opportunities to these kids. Keep them off the street. You have to understand, especially at the secondary level, students don't really have opportunities to do outside of athletics. They don't really have many opportunities to do things and go places and go play chess with their friends. Like, if you see the run of the clubs that these kids are doing and the potential that they're losing, you're talking about pennies in the grand scheme of an over $300 million budget, but these are the things that are the most forward-facing to the kids. It's the things that will directly impact them and only them. So the kids that are not able to hang out after school and play chess are the kids that are now going to be on the street. And you've all seen, you know, the bike gangs that we talk about, because these kids have nothing to do. So I just implore you to really reconsider those particular cuts. Again, we're talking about, in the grand scheme of things, under $200,000. And though that is a big number, I'm sorry, in the grand scheme of things, that's a small number, but it's going to have a profound impact, and it's 100% student facing. And that's all I have for you. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Melissa Washington. Is she here?
I didn't write anything. I apologize. I was listening online and came here when I saw everything that was up on the gamut when the budget didn't pass. Because I did go and vote, and I wanted you to know that I had to wait an hour at Waverly to vote. So a lot of parents did walk off the line, so that was frustrating. I moved to the district 3 years ago because of your theater program. I have a daughter that started off in Sagamore with Miss Kalani, who made her soar. And now she's at the High School of East with Mr. DiPerzio. And it has taught my daughter so much. She has anxiety, but she has a confidence now. She can publicly speak. She can get in front of you better than I can without a nervous voice. I want to thank you so much for passing the theater to have the 2 shows next year and for keeping the music program. My daughter's going to be in 2 chorus classes. One of the other theater classes unfortunately got axed, which I understand, for next year. But if you guys can, when the budget gets back, I do anything to fundraise to help the music and the theater, because if you saw my daughter shine and saw her eyes light up, you would understand the confidence and the woman she's becoming, and her goal is to go to school for musical theater. So every class that is offered, she is diving into, and that's her love of life. So I appreciate you so much for saying yes to the theater and to the music, because without that, my daughter would be in a little shell in her room every single day. So I appreciate you all, and I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, we moved to this district because you guys had a theater program. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Lucy Johnson? She here? She left? And then Phil Barbera.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Phil Barbera. I'm the president of the Sachem Central Teachers Association, but more importantly, I'm a proud earth science teacher at Sachem North. I've been teaching here for 17 years, and I just need to share that for my calculations, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's 19 teaching positions that will not be joining us again next year. So that's the 19 people that all these people are talking about. The theater program are run by people. The coaches are the people who create the program. That is the memorable part for those kids. I'll tell you right now, you just cut one of your beautiful coaches who has one of those positions that you just cut. So the programs that we're cheering that we saved will not be the same programs they were this year. We are in the business of people. So the most frustrating part for me tonight was comments such as, we didn't see this coming, we need to dive deeper. Every single person knows in this room and out there that you guys have budget meetings since the fall. We knew of changes coming, and there was plenty of time to go through, make additional changes, work budgets, and you do not work a budget the year it's happening. You are always looking forward. So to hear trustees up here saying they were caught off guard, we need more time, you had the time. And if you guys would have put a little bit more time in prior to and gave our community a hard yes and no on the previous budget, maybe that decision came out a little bit differently. And now 19 people, which some of them walked out because as you voted yes, they were informed that they do not have a job next year. So I am not up here to say that your job is easy. It is horrible. I do appreciate, I know the people out there said, multiple of you said, none of us want to do these cuts. But to say that this was not coming, we didn't see it, is unacceptable. Because those 19 people do not have a job next year. But I'm glad that we have full sports. I coached here for 11 years. Those are probably the best 11 years I had here with my athletes. I was a music kid growing up and an athlete. Those are memorable experiences. But it's memorable because of the people running the sport, running the theater club, running that music program. So in the future, starting now, we need to start looking at the long-term effects because I'm devastated that you are dipping further into reserves. Almost every single one of you up here has said we cannot repeat the mistakes of the past, which was diving deeper into reserves, knowing you're working into a budget that you have a deficit next year. That's like saying, I'm going to Disney this year, but we don't have the money for 3 months of mortgage next year, but we'll figure it out next year.
You're approaching 3 minutes. Thank you.
That is a horrible and inappropriate way to budget. So yes, the money is sitting there. It's not just a rainy day, because it's money that can be spent with the expectation to refill, to continue to build your budgets for the future. So I'm terrified because I feel like next year, like all of you know, we are going to be right back here again discussing more cuts for kids and staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Barbera. Allison, any more visitors? Okay, upcoming meetings. Okay, our meetings are going to change a little bit. I just want to put this out there for the community. They're not going to be on Wednesdays. We have a meeting next Tuesday, June 4th. The following Tuesday, June 11th, is a budget hearing. So next week on June 4th is the budget adoption. June 11th, the budget hearing, and then June 18th will be the budget revote here at district office. All right. We do not have an exec session tonight that I know of. There's no personnel matters that we need to discuss at this particular point. I need a motion to adjourn. Okay, Meredith, second. Okay, Stephanie, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.